Sasha Martinengo?
Greg, what a pleasure to be here. I tell you, the excitement has been building over the last couple of days, and now we're at it. I'm just as nervous, I must tell you, as I'm sure the drivers are, getting about half an hour from the first semi-final.
Yeah, the drivers, I think, are sitting in their rigs all around the country going, well, what have we got ourselves into? We're all fighting now. It's no longer fun and games. It's no longer the chirping that's been happening back and forth on all the forums, whether it's on Discord or on vMix or on WhatsApp or on SMS, you name it. They've been back and forth at each other the entire time. It's been incredible to watch, actually, and to be part of. But, of course, this afternoon we announced the 4 semi-finals. We are only moments away from getting away with, of course, semi-final number 1. But when we get into something like this with the Solidarity E-Race and we raise funds, and I'm waiting for Ross to send me the official update in terms of the figures, but I know that with those figures, we were close to the 35,000 Rand mark by the time we did the announcement at 2 o'clock. So I'm sure we've extended that even more. And things are just getting bigger and better as we get into the racing proper.
You know, there's nothing better in the world than giving. Giving just gives so much joy and pleasure, you know, from a personal point of view. And to see everybody that's gotten involved from the drivers, and then, of course, we'll talk about our sponsors as well. It's just wonderful that we're having a tremendous amount of fun. And, of course, we're raising funds for a very, very worthy cause in this very, very tough time that South Africa and, of course, the whole world is going through.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And, of course, joining us all the way from Europe is one of our sponsors from NEC Global. Okay, so we're just going to wait for him to come and join us. I can hear from the director in my ear that we've just lost Francois. We'll get to him now. We're going to be hopefully chatting to Francois Remy Mornier from NEC Global. He's joining us all the way from Europe. So that's kind of maybe a bit of a mix-up in terms of the signals there from Europe to South Africa. I know we've got a big rainstorm outside here in Johannesburg, so that also might be a big So hang tight, be patient with us. We're going to try and bring you all this action tonight. And while we're chatting, maybe Brent can actually go into the servers and see whether or not we've got our first sets of qualifying practice sessions happening now. It's the last time that the drivers in each of the semi-finals are going to have to get on track and just get their minds right, get their race face on, and make sure that all their setups are dialed in.
Also, you know, Greg, we've got some very, very experienced racers. We've spoken to a few of them who've been racing online for many, many years. We've got a lot of newbies when it comes to online racing and for the Solidarity E-Race. It's going to be quite intriguing to see, you know, who is more professional than the others, in the sense of, well, you don't want anybody bashing into each other, but it's definitely going to happen.
No doubt about it. But the cool thing about it is if you watch what's happened over the last couple of hours, you've literally got a situation where they've instituted all of the regulations. And I actually printed them out, and it's about 6 pages of regulations. Not quite as big as the white book at MSA, but they are going to be pretty strict with how things go here tonight. And we've got a sort of a race directorship that's going to be watching for these guys to transgress the rules. Penalties can basically be a 5-second penalty added to the end of your race time, a 15-second penalty added to the race time. You might get a drive-through penalty. You may even be kicked off the server because you could be in a bit of trouble with bad behavior. Now, I don't know if you watched our previous show, Sash, just a couple of minutes ago, but on that, Gary van der Spey was actually telling me that in, I think, last weekend or the week or just before we went into lockdown, during one of the races, I'm not sure who the driver is. You'll probably know because you're a little bit more affair with single-seaters, but it's not Formula One. It's in the IMSA, what do they call it? Karting, the Indianapolis 500 cars. What are they called?
Yeah.
So it's out of my head.
Yeah,
one of the drivers was involved in an online race, and his antics in the online race have cost him his license. He's been removed from the IMSA series, and he's no longer allowed to participate in any of the online racing. So there are forums that are watching what we're doing to ensure that these drivers and gamers don't get out of hand completely.
Yeah, very, very much so. I mean, that's in the IndyCar. As I'm sure a lot of people who follow the world of motorsport, Kyle Larson in a NASCAR race 2 nights ago, unfortunately used a very derogatory term and lost all of his sponsors. and basically out of a drive in NASCAR. So to our drivers and gamers who are out there who are getting ready, don't forget, the world is watching you. Mind your manners and be as professional as possible, because this is the real deal. You might not be physically in a car, but this is very much a professional game. I just want to say, Greg, a big welcome to everybody who's joining us on via Facebook Live and our various channels. Loads of people. Try and share some watch parties to your viewers as well, because the action's going to start in 25 minutes. We're going to go through the different semi-finals that we've gotten. Greg, maybe you can give us a rundown what the semi-finals entail, how long the race is on, and how it progresses.
Yeah, so basically what's happened is we got the top 100 that were brought in over the last 6 days. The service shut down at 8 o'clock this morning, and with those servers shutting down, we got the top 100. Interesting enough is the top 20 were split by the same second. So we've got 20 drivers all within the same second of a 1 minute 40, which is absolutely amazing if you consider the fact that you've got racers, professional sim racers, professional racing drivers, all in that top 20. They were then sent across to Richard Raymond, and of course our back-end office that's behind this is incredible, including, of course, EFX and Brendan Marsay, who's doing the production tonight. And basically they put it into and I want to use a term that I thought was quite fun. It's a Harry Potter term. It's a sorting hat app. And literally putting those names into the sorting hat, divided them into the 4 separate semi-finals at a completely random way of doing it. There was no human input whatsoever. So we eventually ended up with the 4 semi-finals, which we announced at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And what's going to happen now is, because of the organizers not kind of having the effect of how things work in the gaming world, ACC, the Assetto Corsa Competizione that we're using, the game we use, does not allow you to do lapped races. In other words, amount of laps per race. So 10-lap race is what we wanted. However, you've got to now work out what that average time between the 25 drivers is, and then work out how long it'll take those average times to come and give you 10 laps. So each semi-final might be a slightly different duration due to the fact that we've got different levels of drivers in that semi-final. And of course, when you're looking at the guy who's quickest and maybe the guy who's in 100th place, there's almost a 16-second differential there. So you've got to take that into account. They've done all the maths, and hopefully we will be getting all 4 races as close to the 10 lap that we wanted and that was marketed.
Listen, it's just brilliant, and quite amazing to see how intricate and involved the world of gaming is. Listen, Francois is joining us all the way from, I think he's in France. Is that right, Greg?
I think so too. Francois Remy Monnier from NEC Global, you with us? Or should I say bonjour? Oh, there he is. He's jumping in and out. Of course, it is a long way to come, so it's a little bit more than sort of between Sasha and I from the north of Joburg to the south of Joburg. But Francois, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello.
I can see you, but I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Francois. I'm giving you a nod. Wonderful to have you on board as one of our sponsors. I mean, you're heavily involved in the world of motorsport. What intrigued you to get involved with the Solidarity E-Race?
I think we may have lost him again there, Sash. I think while we've got some time, I know that we have got Michael van Rooyen on standby as well. Maybe we can get Brendan to get hold of Mike and go to him first before we come back. Okay, well, there we go. No one. It's you and me, Sash. It's you and me, bud.
You know what, Greg?
Let's hold the fort.
People are nervous. People are scared. People are getting tense. I tell you, I'm getting like a bit of sweaty palms. I'm ready for some commentary at 7 o'clock. I'm really excited to actually see what's going on. And I think, as you so perfectly explained just now, it's not one of these dodge 'em car kind of races. You can't just go in there and maybe you qualified in 18th and you think, well, I'm just going flat out into turn 1 and I'm going to take 4 or 5 guys out and carry on racing. You've got artificial intelligence that is monitoring you and can kick you out. It can black flag you out of the race as well. So I expect we're going to see some some very interesting tactics and I think some great driving as well.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. I think what these guys have done is they've worked so hard over the last 6 days to make that top 100. They don't want to go and mess it all up now. And particularly when you're dealing with the gamers, and some of them have got some big sponsors that they need to impress. So I know Michael van Rooyen is going to join us pretty soon, and hopefully we can get either him or Francois Remy Mornier from NEC Global back with us. But here we go live into one of the qualifying practice sessions right now. It's basically just a free practice session for these guys to have the last little shakedown, get the nerves out of the way, have a look at going into the various corners around Kyalami Grand Prix circuit, and just make sure that they are feeling the vibe. It's kind of the warm-up lap of what we normally do on a racetrack, and get those little cobwebs out of the helmet, get the race face on, and get ready to go.
Greg, from you've been watching a lot of it and watching these guys driving. Most of the times the guys are on the track sort of with themselves. This is a completely different entity for these drivers. This is a race, and this is a chance to get into the final of the Solidarity E-Race tomorrow. I mean, how tense do you think these guys are feeling?
Look, I've seen the sort of back and forth and the banter that's happened between the drivers over the last couple of days, and it's kind of been fun and games and a little bit of tongue-in-cheek here and there. But you could see over the last couple of hours after the announcement of the semi-finals that whole tone of the WhatsApps and the tone of the messages between drivers and the assistance that the gamers were prepared to give the racing drivers and vice versa is no longer as forthcoming as what it was earlier on. I think they are getting into that scenario that most racing drivers get into, that you and I both know on a very well-known basis. Is it's the money time, and when I talk about the money time, we're actually about the money that's available, the 20,000 rands worth of shared prize purse that's up for grabs.
Yeah, it is wonderful that everyone's going to come out with some great prizes. Greg, also, for those who maybe missed at 2:00 this afternoon when we actually announced the 4 semi-finals, there was a great announcement from Universal. You want to tell us about that prize as well?
Yeah, basically what's going to happen is, other than the AfriHost cash prizes that were up for grabs, and phenomenal to have all those cash prizes and data prizes that have been supplied by our sponsors, we were able to get hold of Dr. Johan Pretorius from Universal Healthcare, who's working frantically at the moment to try and assist the government. So it's all part and parcel of what the solidarity aspect of this race is. And it's nice to have that partnership with Universal Healthcare, because they are, and I'll give you an indication, I was involved in a meeting earlier on before we made the announcement, Sash. They're basically working hand in hand with the government to create a temporary hospital outside of Nasrec, and also one down in the old Volkswagen Motorsport factory in Uitenhagen, PE.
It just starts with... Yeah, carry on.
Alleviate all the issues that are going to be happening, of course, with COVID and with the coronavirus.
Yeah, very much. It's incredible how deep people are digging at this stage of their lives to try and assist those where the whole world, and specifically South Africa, we have got problems, and most probably some more problems that are going to come. And the more prepared we are for it, and the more people like Universal Healthcare coming on board and doing their bit for the South African public is just so endearing and wonderful to see. And then, of course, for them also getting involved with our Solidarity E-Race as well, contributing to that as well. I think so wonderfully important. And, this is the first of many. So I'm looking forward to more of them.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that they then jumped on and said, okay, well, listen, we want to try and get some of these gamers out of their gaming chairs and rigs and give them an opportunity that a lot of these guys have been itching for. And that was a chance to go and test with their Utingo Polo Cup team. So hats off to the team. At some point in time, the guy who is the best gamer at the end of this competition will be getting a chance to go and be part and parcel of an official test with a national championship Polo Cup team.
I mean, that's just an extraordinary prize for anybody in the world to get into any kind of a race car and drive around a circuit, even if it's at the slowest speed, is one of the most magnificent experiences you can ever have. And the gamers out there are definitely, this is going to be one prize that is going to be cherished forever.
Well, on top of that, the gamers were going to be given, of course, or the winner was going to be given the TGN Racing Simulator. So what we've decided is, and the organizers have changed up the format in terms of the prize giving that'll happen tomorrow night, the top racing driver will now be given that incredible 20,000 Rand TGN Racing Simulator frame to start his career in what we see as a massive growing market share in e-racing.
Yeah, also an incredible sponsorship from Werner and his team at TGN. He's even in one of the races as well, so he can't win it, Werner, just letting you know. But yeah, something very, very special. And if you missed our broadcast yesterday evening, you would have seen, you've got that frame where you can put the 3 screens in front of you. You've got your whole setup. I mean, it's just magical. The sort of expense that certain people go to, but you don't necessarily need that, because we also learned last night that people just have it on their table at home, stuck down with some double-sided tape, and they go racing. So it's all about skill and practice.
Yeah, and in fact, if you look at some of the guys that are at the top end of their game, I mean, we chatted to the Ghost Bash last night, Bashir Jadwat. He had the full virtual goggles on and literally put everything into place, a proper racing steering wheel, the paddle shift, the gears, everything sorted out. And then the guy who's sort of giving him a bit of a run for his money there in terms of the gaming world, Alaric Enslin, he's literally sitting with a thrust steering wheel on top of his desktop, as you said. So there's ways and means of sort of skinning the snake here, I think, when you get into this world, but it is all about skill, and it kind of totes towards what Universal are involved with in terms of Polo Cup with the single mate series. This is a single mate series that basically allows everybody to have a similar platform to play on. It just depends on the machinery that you've got available to you and your ability to use that machinery. And it doesn't, as you said, Sash, necessarily have to be the top of the range machinery.
Especially when you come into this kind of racing in the polos, Greg. I mean, it's just wonderful to watch the kids of today, and some of the older generation who go in there as well, also as guidance. I mean, that is just, it's the same car for everybody. Small little updates here and there, just in terms of what the team can do from an engineering setup point of view. But that is just sheer flat out racing, and it's probably one of the most wonderful series you can watch, especially here in South Africa.
24 years in the making, as they're going to their 24th season, hopefully by the end of lockdown. But the other important aspect, of course, with that Polo Cup is look at the drivers that have come out of Polo Cup and gone on to bigger and better things. They're also involved currently in various forms of e-racing around the world. The Van der Linde brothers, Jordan Pepper, those kind of drivers have all gone on to bigger and better things and have opened up doors and opportunities for drivers like these guys that are involved here. The Charles Wilkin, okay, look, he's an ex and former racing driver. He's no longer participating as a professional racing driver anymore, but he's had multiple championships. And you can see we're following him around at the moment there in the Porsche. Just behind him is Jordan Sherritt. Now, there's another youngster who's come out of karting, had a few stints in Polo Cup, and eventually ended up in global touring cars, but production cars before global touring cars in Class T in a Mini.
Yeah, it's just amazing what it is about, and it's great to see our live pictures over here. We've got 30 minutes left of this free practice session, and then, of course, we get into the first of the 4 semi-finals that we have today. Let's have a look at our first grid for the first event and semi-final here today. Greg, as you mentioned, I mean, this is all done computer-based, and that's how everybody comes out. Just to let you know, when they are racing, you could see from on your screen on the right-hand side, it says number 3, number 7, 16, etc. That is how they finished in terms of the top 100. But that's also, Greg, going to be the number of the car that they're going to be racing.
Correct. So literally, you got Charles Wilkin, who's on pole position for semi-final 1, but he is number 3. In other words, he completed the top 100 in 3rd place, all the way from Erasmus Kloof. So he'll be the man to watch out for here. He, of course, is a physical racing driver as opposed to a gamer. Right behind him, though, is one of our top gamers who finished 7th overall, all the way from Cape Town, and that's Luke Lachesi, who, of course, was helping a couple of guys into the very early parts of this morning, trying to get those final lap times in for Jason Luck and the Crazy Boys, and the Crazy Bunch, I should say. So it's very interesting to see that there's a nice mix up there of guys who came in to have fun, There's guys who've come to take this a bit more seriously, and there's guys who are going to be looking to take the prizes at the end of the day as well. So to run through that grid, you've got Charles Wilkin, Luke Lachesi, Devin Leisha, then it's Jordan Sherritt and Johan Grobler making up the top 5 with Yuri Swart, another man from Cape Town, out of the Utinga Polo Cup Series as well. They're in 6th.
Yeah, then you got Dewald Brummer, you got Mark Hembury, Paul Gerber, Hilton Peters that give us our top 10. And that gives you, out of our first heat in the top 10, we've got up to the 42nd person who qualified out of the top 100. And Greg mentioned a little bit earlier, the top 20 were only split by just on a second. So your top 4 guys are very, very close to each other. Your next 6 guys are also very, very close to each other. So, I mean, this is going to be a very, very tight race.
Certainly is. Then you move on to, of course, Byron Mitchell, the man we chatted to from Cape Town, comes out a single seater.
Oh, there we go. I don't know if I lost Greg there for a second. Yes, just disappeared already. So we got Hilton Peters by Byron Mitchell. Andrew Thompson, we got Werner Hirop. We've got Werner Hubert, who, of course, is our big sponsor from TGN Racing Simulators. Bernard King in 15th place. He finished in 54. He's from Randburg in Johannesburg, all the way from the lovely part of Paris. Hannes van Wyk, who's in 16th place on the grid. And then going down the best, we've got Blake Kruger from East London, Mario Passetti from Olifantsfontein in 18th and 19th and 20th, Frans Schneider from Somerset West, and Antoine Geldenays in 20th position. Are you back there, Greg?
I think I am. I don't know why I got lost there. I hope you can hear me. I've come back in there.
Buddy.
Antoine Geldenays, of course, fighting with his brother to take the controls tonight, because they've only got one console at home. So the two brothers fortunately got split into different qualifying heats, which is a good thing. Jason Isherwood behind that, then Gary Richardson, Jason Kutsia. And interesting, something that you wouldn't know, Sash, earlier on, we picked up, there was a bit of a problem with Farhan Basha in 18th place. His PC crashed. So he's unfortunately had to pull out, excuse me, and he's been replaced in 25th place by Steve Lareo. So number 101 in 25th place is a late entry, and he was on standby in case anything like this happened.
Well, there we go. Unlucky for Farhan Basha, but yeah, you know, sometimes you need a little bit of luck. Now you've got to try and convert it into something when it comes to the actual race, which is only about 8 minutes away. Greg, go. Tell us a little bit about the start of the race. Is this a rolling start? Is it? How does it work?
So basically what will happen is you can see the live footage that's going on there now. It's the last couple of minutes of that. In fact, they've got 9 minutes and 20 seconds still to go. They might cut that short, and our race director might sort of pull them out of this practice session and slot them into their grid positions. Literally where they're coming through now is we're watching Charles Wilkin there come through. He's decided to go. It says he's in the Porsche, but I think that's an Audi, if I'm not mistaken. That's definitely an Audi he's in. It's not a Porsche.
That's definitely an Audi, yeah.
He was practicing in the Porsche the whole time, so he might not have changed his vehicle, but he's definitely in the Audi as he crosses the line now and heads across the line down towards turn 1, the kink, and towards Crowthorne.
Oh, it's actually Steve McCarthy, by the way. Sorry, Greg.
Beg your pardon. Yes, Steve McCarthy. He's pulled to the sideline. Yeah. All right, so basically what will happen is if we get a shot back at to Cheetah Corner, that's following now. We're with Yuri Swart running a bit wide, coming out just a man ahead of him there, but Yuri Swart now heading into the S's. So he heads down into the S's. We got someone out of shape there on the sideline by the looks of it as well. 79, I think that was Passetti. Mario Passetti gets out of shape coming out of the AfriHost S's. But let's follow Yuri around here. And as we get down, I'll kind of take you through. So on the warm-up lap, they'll be going side by side. We won't see them do that warm-up lap. We've also got an opportunity to sort of pick them up as they come out of the crocodiles here, which is where we see Yuri Swart heading into right now. The old bowl of the original format of Kyalami, now known as the Crocodile. As they come out of the Crocodile, they then head into Cheetah. We'll pick them up coming out of Cheetah Corner. And it's a rolling start, Sash. So literally that entire grid will be side by side, heading around here into the final corner, which is known as Ingwe, and then across the line. And they may not accelerate until the lights go out. So the rolling start format works exactly as it would in a rolling start on a physical racetrack here,
Yeah, I tell you, it is just, I can feel the tension. It's getting quite amazing. We've got 7 minutes left of the session. Theoretically, as we still are on board with Yuri Swart going through the Yuxke sweep and then making his way up to the very famous barbecue, as it's now been, of course, renamed. One of my favorite courses.
And if you look in the background there,
motor racing, here is the sunset. And we saw Brendan's office there. Did you notice him waving?
Yeah, he was standing out the window giving us a wave. Thanks, Brent, from EFX. As you come out of barbecue, you can actually pick up on the EFX studio.
Yeah, the car was going so fast, Brendan, we missed you. But if he comes around again, just stand there, give us a nod so we know what's happening. But also, Greg, just such a magnificent circuit. Kyle Army got so much history, totally rebuilt over the last couple of years. Hosted the International 9-hour last year. What a magnificent facility, and just so wonderful that we've got our South African races on a South African racetrack.
Interesting little comments that are coming through via my feed on Facebook as well. Mark's, is it Brent? Sorry, I'm just reading the comment correctly there. Max Verstappen driving in the Australian V8 iRacing series at the moment. And then it was Daniel Joffrey that said Timmy Hill from NASCAR actually won with one of those steering wheels attached to his desk. So just interesting to see how these guys are picking up on different information coming from the various series running all around the world.
Oh, fantastic. It's just, people are so starved of their true motor racing at present. So we might as well try and do something and keep ourselves entertained. And I think what a wonderful way to do it with our very own Solidarity E-Race.
Yeah, that's the way we're going to be doing it. And of course, 25 drivers are now, as Yuri's got it out of shape, going right there, right on cue with Brendan at EFX. Thanks for that.
We saw you, Brendan.
Actually did something wrong with him there. Yeah, Brendan pushed something on the game there and I think made him spin out. I think that was just to get that additional bit of coverage there for EFX. So, we want to watch now as this is Johan Grobler in the Porsche. He heads down towards Sunset Corner. We're going to be talking about these corners all night long and, of course, all tomorrow night as well for the grand final. Tomorrow night, just about the same time, 6:45 with the free practice sessions. A bit of chat with some of our sponsors and some interviews as well to happen with those. And then, of course, into the two grand final races, one being the 10-lapper and the other one, of course, being a 20-lap, slightly longer mini-endurance race. And these guys, by tomorrow night, are definitely going to start feeling it. I don't think tonight, all important is to get into the top 6 to remind people, Sash. The top 6 is where you need to be to ensure that you make your way through to the official finals for the grand finale.
There we go. So that'll give us 24 competitors, but there is a 25th competitor as well.
Yes, there is, known as the wild card, as we like to call it in all forms of motorsport. And that one will be decided by the race control and the organizers, and hopefully get sent through at some point to us this evening to add them to the list at the end of our top 6 out of each of these heats. And of course, that 25th driver will be sitting with bated breath, hoping to get in at some point. Do you think Colin Hasty might make it, eh?
Listen, Colin just made it through. I know that the man is incredibly determined. It's going to be quite interesting to see how he performs. But he's up against, a formidable bunch of drivers and also tremendous amount of experience. You can go and sit there and say, okay, over 5 days, I've learnt a lot of this craft. Now, all of a sudden, you're in a racing condition that you haven't been in before. This is completely different to what you might be used to.
Other thing to take into account is just have a look at 18th place on that timing sheet on the left-hand side there. That's our man who was on standby. He's already made up, 24 to 18, 6, 7 positions. So there's a very good possibility that Steve Leroux is looking at the lap. I'm looking at the times he's doing right now. Those are the times that are going to be conducive to what he's going to do in the race as well. And as I say that, I can see the session is about to start. So, Sash, by the looks of things, these guys are ready to go.
I tell you, the pressure's on. It's all about our first semi-final when it comes to our Solidarity E-Race. We've got 4 heats to get through this evening. This should take about 20-odd minutes. It is going to be a rolling start. We got the magnificent corners of Kyalami to get through. We've got 30 seconds until the start. The weather is glorious. The fans are all getting ready.
Now check those fans, right? We're in the black flags. What's that all about?
Yeah, what's up with that guy? You know what I mean? Come on, man. Get away with the black flag.
He's completely neutral. Completely neutral.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. 12 seconds, of course, it will be a rolling start. Greg, one of the most important parts of racing, of course, is going to be the start.
It is indeed, and it's very important in this format as well as they head down there. And, of course, into the first part of the race, number one, semi-final number one now. Just waiting for that to roll off. There they go, off the line, led out by Charles Wilkin. Luke Lachessi should be alongside him. Then Devin Leisha, Jordan Sherritt, Johan Krobler, Yuri Swart, Theobald Brummer, Mark Henbury, Paul Gerber, and Hilton Peters making up the top 10. But as they head down there towards, of course, this is turn one, the Kink. Then it's turn two, Crowthorne. In full flight, basically down towards turn two here at Crowthorne Corner. The Porsches and the Audis during the practice session, Sash, were getting just over the 260 km/h mark before they climb on the anchors at about 100 meters to go.
Quite amazing. I must tell you, I don't see Luke Lachessi on the grid. Strangely enough, he doesn't seem to be there. There did seem to be a little bit of a gap.
There was a gap on that front row.
Leisha, yeah. So hopefully there's no issue with Lachessi. Well, there's definitely an issue with Lachessi. If anything, he'll come out of the pits and start at the back.
Yeah, if I look at the way things are gone there, the two Porsches at the front there, that is Devin Leisha and Charles Wilkin. Devin Leisha will have to hold third place. He can't just slot himself into second place. And incredibly, Jordan Sherritt will be up there as well. Johan Krobler in the third of the Porsche. So you literally got three Porsche 911 GT3s at the front end. And those three are going to be pretty tough to beat you because if you watched the qualifying sessions and saw what was happening in those qualifying sessions, the German makes were the definite choices of the majority of these cars and drivers that have made it into that top 20 that have been so close. But now, of course, all of that gets thrown out the window. We've got a fourth Porsche a bit higher up there as well of Theobald Brummer by the looks of things. So there may be a couple of guys who have... sorry, that's Yuri Swart in that fourth Porsche. Beg your pardon.
Yeah, it looks as though Luke Lachessi, unfortunately, is out. We only got 24 competitors. The guy to watch off the line here is definitely going to be Jordan Sherritt because he's got no one in front of him, and he could be able to get past the likes of Devin Leisha. Let's see how close he gets to Charles Wilkin going into through the Kink and into Crowthorne, our first corner.
Yeah. They come out of Leeuwkop now, heading down the mine shaft. And, of course, Pure Storage is our sponsor of the mine shaft as they head down now into the Crocodile. Three Porsches, and then the Audi start to line up behind. Jordan Sherritt, as you said, I thought he was in Audi according to what we've got there on the left-hand side of our screen, but it definitely looks like he's gone with the Porsche as his option to drive in. If we get that sorted out a bit later on. In fact, there are four Porsches up there as well. So Theobald Brummer will be the fourth of that Porsche. So now they come to firm up their positions. Remember, they've got to get into their actual race positions now. So Charles will be on the front row on his own, and then the other two will slot in just behind him.
Oh, I tell you, there was a little bit of action happening. The guys are really, really pushing up there. It looks like I'm trying to figure out what number that was. They seem to have gotten out of there, some kind of position.
Yeah, 16 Devin Leisha had to try and squeeze his way through there on Jordan Sherritt in the 20 car. 108 in the background. Watch out for him coming through as well in the Bentley. There's going to be some action with that. But now we get ready to go for the first race here of the E-Race, the Solidarity E-Race. Semi-final one about to kick off here, Martinengo, as they head down towards turn one, the Kink. Who's your money on, buddy?
Here we go. Let's go racing. Charles Wilkin definitely puts the hammer down. Here we go. He puts the hammer down. He's got Devin Leisha who's coming up on the inside. He might be able to squeeze past Charles Wilkin. Goes through the King. No, Charles Wilkin got the legs. Oh, they're pushing each other. And he gets blocked off going into turn one. Very aggressive drive. Devin Leisha. Brilliant stuff. Oh,
we've got a spinner there, 21, Johan Krobler spins out. He's got back on track, and he's been hit by a couple of cars in the background there. So a couple of cars coming together there with Johan Krobler. He just got spun out coming out of Crowthorne, and he's now dropped right to the back. Here's a quick review of heading towards turn one, the Kink. You can see Charles Wilkin and got it all sorted out. But as they come down, they keep an eye out on Johan Krobler's Porsche. He just tips it into Crowthorne. As they come under braking, I don't think he gets helped out by anybody. No, he does. He gets a little tap there from the Audi. He got a little tap there from the Audi, and then just unfortunately nowhere to go for the couple of cars in the background there. You can see them all trying to take evasive action, Sash. but it didn't quite work out. So we've got Charles Wilkin out front as we rejoin the race, heading up towards Leeuwkop. They've just come out of the S's. On his tail is Devin Leisha. It's Dewald Brummer, the third of the Porsches, who's right on the tail there of Leisha.
I tell you, some fantastic racing at the moment coming down the mine shaft. Charles Wilkin just ahead of Devin Leisha, but Devin Leisha pushing really, really hard. Is he going to try and go on the inside, going through the crocodiles? No, he's going to be patient. One has to be patient in these kind of racing. But man, they are head to toe all the way through the Bentley, pushing on I think it's Aston.
Yeah, that's Mark Henry. Mark Henry there all over the back of those Porsches, and of course looking for a way through. And then behind that it's Hilton Peters, first of the Audis. Behind that it's Thomas and Mitchell in the second of those two Audis as they head down towards turn one. Again, we're on board as we head down there. You can see just how hard we're pushing. Henry trying to get it to the limit, 230, 235, 240 k's an hour before he climbs on the anchors to go into Crowthorne Corner there in the Bentley. We've got a spinner. Another one of the Audis has come out of shape. One of the back markers who spun out there as well. I think that might have been Schneider. Oh, I hope it wasn't Schneider. We were just mentioning him earlier on. We're giving him the commentator's curse before he even started.
Well, I tell you, the guy you got to watch here is Loreo. I mean, this was a wild card starting at 25th. Yeah. Actually started with up to 11th place already and doing a great job. There we actually online with him with Sean Loreo in 11th place at the moment. What you want to do in your 13 and a half minutes is try and get into that top six. So at the moment, it's Charles Wilkin, Devin Leisha, we've got Brummer, Henbury, Peters, and Hinop. Those are our top five, and then a bit of a gap to number 7. Yeah. So those guys are going to have to start pushing a little bit harder with only 13 minutes to go.
Yeah, the top 6 have got away ever so slightly there, Sash, as you can see. Second pack, running wide. That's definitely one of the Audis. I think that might have been Peters who's just run wide there ever so slightly. Let's watch and see as they pick up now as they get into Leeuwkop. Up into Leeuwkop Corner, the 101 car is through there. So that's some fantastic driving coming out of Leroux, as you mentioned. So Steve Leroux is certainly picking them off one by one and coming through the pack rapidly. You can see using his race skills here as opposed to the gaming skills. Nice move here as well from Henbury. He's putting the pressure onto the back end of the third Porsche of Dewald Brummer. Brummer, you can see just in front now as we go on board with him. This is great, eh? How awesome are these graphics, Sash? I mean, literally,
it's unbelievable.
I don't even think we can do this in real life, right?
That's right. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, believe in our ears. It's able to be done in real life, but we just need a little bit extra budget to do that if we want to in National Championship Racing. But here we are, Solidarity E-Race, and it's the battle for third place we're watching. Brummer now with Mark Henbury right on his tail, and Peter's starting to close in there in the Audi.
I think we've got to get Brendan, as we go past his office again, maybe give us a couple of effects maybe from the track, if that's at all possible. But looking good at the moment. Charles Wilkin looking very comfortable, 7/10 ahead of Devin Leisha. But the guy who must be so furious at the moment, Jordan Sherritt, he had a great chance in this race, and it seems as though he's out of the race as well, together with our second man, Luke Lucchesi, who had some kind of an issue.
Yeah, that guy, I'm not quite sure what's gone wrong there, but he might have been possibly given some kind of a penalty for not having the right setup and stuff. That can also happen. But now, as we head up towards Leeuwkop, we go track a little bit there, picking up on Byron Mitchell, the man from Cape Town. He's in that second pack. It's a battle for 8th place there with Kruger. You can see he's having to work as hard as he can there as Kruger gets into the mix there with Byron Mitchell. You've got Bernard King in there as well, pushing it to the limit. He was started in 15th. He's made his way up into 10th place. So some maneuvering happening there. But the biggest mover of the race so far is the man at the back of that pack. In the number 11 car there, Steve Leroux in the Audi, up to 11th place from starting down in 25th place overall.
Oh, we got a great pass there. Byron Mitchell getting past Kruger. So it really worked for him. He took a tight line going through into Leeuwkop, and he managed to make it work, coming through the crocodiles and then, of course, into Ingwe. So fantastic racing here. And there we go, Mitchell, Byron Mitchell, now in 9th place. He's now in 8th place as he goes over. So terrific racing.
Sash, have a look at the background there. In normal racing, you're allowed to make one evasive maneuver. There was about 7 or 8 evasive maneuvers down that main straight, but left, right, you're not coming through.
Well, and the great thing about it is that these guys are so experienced at doing this kind of racing. They know that that's going to happen. Great move from the Aston Martin, number, 54.
Bernard King. Up there nicely. Bernard King.
Through past the Lamborghini. So a terrific drive there, goes up into 9th place. So Kruger having all sorts of problems. He's lost 2 places. Mitchell now up to 8th position as well. In our first team, just under 10 minutes to go of our first
amazing race action. Yeah, I can't believe how good this is. I didn't think it was going to be this good. But these guys are behaving nicely. They're putting in some good lap times here. The laps are looking good. They are behaving, and they're doing exactly what we wanted in terms of giving us some great action here from Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. And this is kind of exactly what we saw only a couple of months ago at the actual 9-hour. So the race action there is probably just as good, if not better, because the only difference is that we got perfect conditions compared to the torrential downpour that we've got outside, but not actually physically on the track right now.
Very much so. We were on board with Mark Henry. I tell you, watch out for this, because you've got Peters right behind him. Those two battling for 4th and 5th. There's a bit of a gap between Brummer and Henbury in 3rd and 4th. So they're going to have to try and keep pushing each other to try and get closer to Brummer. But all they really want is to finish in the top 6.
Yeah, Henbury's putting the pressure onto Brummer there. Brummer's starting to feel it as they head down towards Crowthorne, turn 2. In the background, though, as you said, Peters is starting to close things down there. He's only 1.1 seconds off there. And if the pressure continues between these two, as it does on a normal racetrack, you're going to see the two of them start to slow each other down. And if they start to slow each other down, Henbury and Brummer are going to feel that pressure from the two Audis of Peters and Hinop. Thomas just behind that, and Byron Mitchell with King and Kruger still fighting for 9th and 10th. But this is a fantastic battle here for 3rd place between a Porsche 911 GT3R and that incredible Bentley.
Yeah, I must have had a bit of brain fade. I was looking for car number 108, but then I realized that that's just on the front of the car. But Henbury, yeah, and I agree with you, because if Henbury starts slowing down a little bit, Peters, Henop are all going to get close to them. Watching Lareo's progress as well from 11th, he's only a second behind Kruger. So, sure, all to play for. Anything can still happen with 8 minutes to go.
I'm loving this as they head down the mine shaft now, the Pure Storage mine shaft down into Crocodiles. You can see just how hard Brummer's having to work here. I don't think he's ever worked this hard in a Porsche before. He normally drives front-wheel drive cars. He's a spectacular front-wheel driver in South African motorsport. But now in this incredibly powerful Porsche, he's had to get to grips with it over the last 6 days. He's decided this is his choice of steed for the next couple of days, tonight and tomorrow night. And of course, you picked up on that 108 on the Bentley. Remember, with that Bentley team, they ran 108 and 107. Pepper's car actually is 107, and they put that on the grill so that it makes it easier for the guys to spot. But of course, that Bentley running the number 38 on the side. So the 38 special there of Henbury closing in on the back end. Here's the leader. We haven't really seen the Hulk. And of course, I go with the Hulk because it's in my colors, lime green and purple. That's my colors for sure in terms of the Hulk that I support as my favorite Avenger. But it looks like Charles Wilkin is putting that Porsche to some smashing ability.
Yeah, he's just driving wonderfully smoothly, and he's pulled out the gap now to 2 seconds to Devin Leisha, just on 2 seconds. I saw a little bit of track limit cheater, by the way. So, got to watch out for our artificial intelligence. Charles Wilkin doing a 1 minute 40.7, which is pretty close to what these guys were doing in their qualifying.
Yeah, looking at the qualifying times, that would have put him in about 12th place, incredibly. His original qualifying time was a 1 minute 40.3. But to go back to what you're saying, Sash, you're spot on. It's basically saying that he is on qualifying lap times as his average lap times at the moment. And we didn't expect that. We're a bit further back here. You can see Jason Kutsia. Here's a young Carter who's also stepped up into the Utsinga Polo Cup for the first time this season and is now in a battle of note with Van Wyk and Richardson right behind him. Gary Richardson slowly but surely trying to put a bit of pressure onto the youngster and hopefully get him to fold.
Yes, and he's got Isherwood in front of him in the Honda, and it seems to be holding him up a bit because he's losing quite a bit of time. So these guys are going to have to start being a little bit more aggressive if they want to try and get into the top 6. They've got quite a lot of time to make up. But I think the guy to watch is Skrobler at the moment, because Skrobler is right on the back of Kruger, Porsche versus Lamborghini. Kruger seemed to have lost a little bit of stride and dropped down to Mitchell and to King. So there we go, having a look at those two racing against each other. So terrific. And
Skrobler being closed down here by the looks of things by the Lamborghini, Sash.
Yeah,
that Lamborghini is definitely closing on the back end of Skrobler. So the Porsche and the Bull fighting hard here, big time. And it looks like that Kruger is looking to try and regain positions he lost earlier on in the race.
Sure, I tell you, Jordan Sheriff, unfortunately, 5 laps down, so he had all sorts of technical issues. Looking further down the grid here as well, the guys who unfortunately aren't going to make it to that final. But yeah, they're still going out there and giving it as much as they can. But Peters is only 0.3 of a second behind Henbury, and we're watching Peters at the moment. Oh, look at that! Gets a great line as they go now into down the mine shaft, and this is going to be interesting coming into Crocodiles. This is going to be interesting coming into Crocodiles. Can he dive him on the inside? It's blocked out there by the Bentley. He might try the undercut coming through on the inside. Great driving. Oh, but also brilliant defensive driving from Henbury in the as well. Superb stuff.
That's a big beast to be throwing around, and you won't find it easy to get past it, that's for sure. That Betty's got probably at least half a wheel length in terms of its ability in length overall over the Audi that we're on board with right now. This is Peters' point of view across the line and starting another lap. We got just under 4 minutes to go.
I think he's going to get it, Greg. I think he's going to do that. Great on the brakes there. Can he hold it going into... Oh, they are side by side.
That's brilliant.
And into the Yuxgate Street. This is terrific driving from the Bentley and the Audi. And it seems that Audi is just brilliant under braking. Can he do anything going now into a sunset? He seems to... he lost a little bit of time there. So lost his line. So let's see what happens when he goes into Clubhouse. But
he comes into sunset at the moment. And now late on the brakes into Clubhouse. Very late on the brakes there in the Audi. It's good stuff there, Sash. It really is. But you can see the Bentley just seems to have the turn of pace coming out of the corners. It looks like the squirt on the Bentley is a little bit better than the Audis. And remember, the Bentley would probably be a rear-wheel drive car as opposed to the Quattro system in that Audi. So even that comes into play in e-racing as much as it does in normal circuit racing as well.
Yeah, I must be honest, I think the Audi had a bit of an issue coming out of Barbecue, and from there he just lost a tremendous amount of traction. He seems to be making it up a little bit coming down the mine shaft again. Will he be able to get close through into the Crocodiles? The Bentley seems to have the legs. He's going to have to be patient. He's only got 2.5 minutes left. So can Hilton Peters do anything to Henbury? Let's go down to 18th position. We are on board with Steve McCarthy. He was the 100th qualifiers, up in 18th position, right on the back of the Italian Mario Passetti. So another great battle. Doesn't matter where you are in the field, Greg, you're still racing for position, you're still racing for pride.
Yeah, and if you look just behind them, you're going to see Schneider, Thomas, and Werner Joubert. Now, Werner Joubert, remember we mentioned him earlier on. He, of course, is the man from the TGN Racing Simulators. Looks like he might have been in trouble a bit earlier on. Schneider now getting up close and personal. But Werner Joubert just off the back and running a bit wide there. That's not what you want to be doing. Keep it on the black stuff. There are track limitations that you're allowed to use, and they will be watching that from our virtual racing control. And if you do exceed those race limitations, they will extend those penalties we spoke about earlier on. But this is a great battle. McCarthy, Schneider, and Passetti going at it.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And Passetti, I think, was very, very wide. I think McCarthy is going to get him up on he's going to try to go on the outside, going into turn number 2, Crowthorne.
Out of Crowthorne corner now. It's a left-hander at the new version of the circuit. The old version of the circuit was a right-hander. He's got him. Perfectly done. Just timed that and got the lines right. With the new version of Kyalami, Sash, I know you've driven on a few occasions. It's just oodles of room to play with. And the same thing applies here. There's actually too many lines and too many options to take for a lot of racing drivers when they get you. And even some of the guys from the Kyalami 9-hour and from the Intercontinental GT Championship were saying that they were actually puzzled with the amount of laps, amount of space that they've got and the different options they've got in various corners, particularly down at Crowthorne.
Yeah, very much at Crowthorne, very much into the Crocodiles as well. We're going up to Werner Hessop, who's in 6th position. That's where he wants to stay. He has got a little bit of a gap ahead of Mitchell, but he's chasing Peters. The further up the grid he can get into the final, he can do it. We seem to be on the last lap here, Greg, because we've only got 28 seconds left. So Charles Wilkin racing out there. What does a guy like Henop do? Does he try and go for 5th, or does he just consolidate and not make a mistake and make sure he gets in the top 6?
I think at this stage he's got a big gap, so I think he's probably going to try and control it now. Then we can see Charles heading into sunset, but Hinop is going to have to control that. He cannot afford to make a mistake because Byron Mitchell will definitely pounce. The young man from Single Seater Racing down in Cape Town, we had a chat to him in one of our very first shows. He was so fired up to try and make the final, and it looks like he's going to just miss out there to the tune of about 0.6 of a second. So he's going to be pushing it to the limit. As we can see, Charles Wilkin taking it real easy with a 2.5 second gap now in the Hulk as it heads up to the top of the hill and to Leeuwkop. Nice helicopter shot here. This is our virtual helicopter, of course, coming out of our EFX Productions team. I'm not quite sure who's piloting this. It might be Stringfellow Hawk who's at the helm here, or maybe it's Alistair Brown from NAC Helicopters. I don't know. It could be either.
Yeah, I think it could be the crazy man Clint Buckham, who must be
Buckham. Yeah, in fact, yeah,
could be Buckham flying that as well. But man, this is coming to the end of the first semi-final race. Charles Wilkin leading from the pole position, not really having too many issues. Lisha pushed him a little bit, but a very controlled and excellently executed race from Charles Wilkin. His fastest time at 140.7, and he was doing a 141.2. So he's been very, very consistent. Congratulations, Charles Wilkin, ahead of Devin Lisha.
Look at this, man. You're not waiting for the top 6 here. Look at that. You can see Byron Mitchell closing right in on him on the last part here, Sash. Heading to the line for 6th place, the very vital position to be in at the end of semi-final number 1. Hinop just hangs on. Oh, and look at that. To the tune, where did Byron Mitchell? 0.8 of a second behind him. Byron Mitchell loses out a top 6 position. And that was top class. And this is Kutsia coming to the line as well. Brilliant action right the way through and all the way down. This is for the 13th place. Lucky for some. Onto the back end of the Honda. Can he find a way past?
Oh, I don't think he'll be able to get past by the line, but terrific driving. You've got to say Mitchell's got to be so unlucky in position 7. I mean, he doesn't make it into the final. However, at one stage, he was 5 seconds behind Hinop and made it up all on the last lap. So the other guys were taking a little bit easy, and Mitchell nearly caught them. But what a brilliant first semi-final race. There we go. There is your lead for 23
I love
races.
the way they all just pull onto the side of the track now to hit the eject button there, which is on the console in front of them, and return to the pit box. But there's a couple of guys doing some donuts as well. That's what we love. Come on, stay with that, director. Stay with the donuts.
That's what we like to see.
Don't worry, we'll find somebody who's doing some more.
Porsche, Bentley, Audi. That's our first 6 finalists for tomorrow's Solidarity.
Do you think that they might have had a chat to Toby Fenter to have 3 Porsches at the top 3 there in semi-final number 1, huh? I think we need to try and get hold of him tomorrow, and maybe we can have a chat to him. He'll be pretty stoked with that.
I think he will be very happy with that. And everyone racing on his track as well. So amazing stuff there from our first teams.
Unbelievable stuff, Sash. I'm completely blown away. I did not expect it to be that exciting. I mean, we had action all the way through the field. There was non-stop right the way, even down into the 21st place positions fight there. So it's kind of what we have hoped would happen. The guys seem to behave themselves. I did see a couple of penalties being implied there, which we don't really have to worry about because that's, of course, all offline, and we don't have to get into the mix with that unless it's completely wrong and we have to review it. But at this point in time, it looks like the first semi-final has gone according to plan with some phenomenal action and a win, not to a gamer, to a racing driver.
Yeah, amazing. I was just checking on my Facebook here. Zach Angura says the Hulk, brilliant drive. I must say, Greg, a couple of weeks ago, I was interviewed about the state of Formula One, and one of the things that came up was the iRacing and e-racing and all of those things. And I've got 2 different opinions on it, but having watched this, I'm quite amped, and I'm quite interested in changing my views a little bit. That was so much fun, and we're not even in the cars.
No, exactly. It's fantastic. And I've just got to give a shout out to Brendan because I've just been sent a link now from on my page. Looks like the big boss man there from Diode, Stephen Watson, has just joined us as well. He, of course, a multiple champion in, and of course, he's just saying to us, guys, this is absolutely brilliant. First class and fantastic to have Brendan and part of his team all involved. So well done. That's how we do it. We don't mess around. We try and get all the big players involved. You know what I'm saying?
No, Listen, it's wonderful, and I think we're attracting some big crowds from all over the world to come and watch us on our South African Solidarity E-Race. That was our first semi-final. We've got our second semi-final, which will be coming up in a short while. I'm going to catch my breath here, Greg. We've got 4 of these to do. Okay, so these are the next competitors. They're in a free practice session at the moment, so they can just get a feel of what the track is doing, get the conditions, make sure that they've got their setup correct. And this should also be a very, very strong race. Your top 10 guys are on this grid, Greg, were from 14th to 34th. So nothing between them when it comes to the qualifying.
Very, very close stuff, Sash. It's going to be incredible to watch these guys. We'll get the grid up a bit later on, but as they get into it, we're going to ask also if Brendan has been able to hook up those interviews that we wanted to line up, if possible, with Francois Remy Mornier from NEC Global, or with Michael van Rooyen. Michael van Rooyen will be in semi-final 4. So it looks like our 2 interviews weren't able to come through, so we'll just hold the fort for now. I've got a couple of other comments coming through as well. It says, nice to see you commentating from your garage. Well, that's how we do things when we're in lockdown. We're not allowed to go anywhere else, so I appreciate that one. Yeah, and I'm right behind my car. I could actually just turn it on and maybe like get those Suzuki fumes coming in to give me a bit more fluent commentary, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Terrific stuff, and I tell you, I mean, we've got so many people who are online as well, which is terrific. Are you guys live on YouTube? We're not on YouTube, Dylan. We're on Facebook.
No, we are. We are.
Oh, we are on YouTube.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're going out of YouTube. I think it's being streamed on YouTube by SuperTube, and I think there's also a link to the eSolidarity race page as well, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so hashtag Solidarity E-Race. That you want to pick up all the action that's on YouTube. And of course, if you want to watch it on YouTube, it means you can watch it on your smart TV as well. And you can get a massive, big 84 centimeter or 78 million meters screen like Sasha Martinengo's got.
Oh, yeah. I wish. Although, listen, if you've got a very clever smartphone, you can actually take it from your Facebook picture and put it on your smartphone. Well, so just amazing. Emil Brandt, a couple of things. PS says, I wish Kyle Army had so many spectators. Well, clearly you weren't at the 9 hour. Yes,
he wasn't at the 9 hour.
Exactly. So
9 hour was ram-packed, but
Emil says, fantastic, James, having a great time, really, really enjoying it. So wonderful to have you online. Yeah, keep the comments coming through on our various pages and platforms. We will try and get to them, but we are focusing on the commentary as well.
I think what we need to do, of course, is get Emil to share this onto his page. He's got Tiny's Pitbox down there. So, Emil, don't be scared to just share it on and get all your friends to like what we're doing as well, buddy. It's good to have you on board here, Tiny. Thanks for that, bud. The smallest man in Cape Town there, watching us from his Pitbox in Cape Town.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. Hello to Diane Guest. Oh, she's a huge motorsport fan. Comes to a couple of my Formula One events as well at the Barons. So nice to have you along, Diane. Lovely that you've joined us. Yeah, have a lot of fun with us. We've got a minute and a half left of this free practice for the second qualifiers for our semi-final, which will come up in a couple of minutes from now. Still don't know what happened to Luke Kersen.
Sash, I want to go quickly onto the WhatsApp channel as well on our WhatsApp group and just go through some of the comments that are there. There's some great fun comments coming through from the first semi-final guys, saying basically, who overtook me in turn 1? I'd like a 500 Rand donation, please. That's from Johan.
Good.
Then Paul came back and said, it could have been me. I fully agree, but the oak outbraked himself completely. Okay, so we need to leave this lobby now. So we're out of here. Bad luck. Such shame. Hold thumbs for the wild card.
Wonderful.
It's great to have that kind of camaraderie.
You know what? I think when we do this again, Greg, we're going to have a couple of remote cameras in one or two of the guys to see their reactions when they're racing, when somebody takes them out to turn 1. I think that could be rather spicy.
Yeah, if you watch the MotoGP one, it was phenomenal to watch because, I mean, they literally had cameras on every single rider. And I know we don't have the budget to do that. I know Brendan can do it. But it's a case of just getting a server per driver, basically, so that we don't miss out on anything that happens on those onboard cameras and on the cameras inside their studios where their rigs are, like where our garage and your dining room is. So I think maybe what we can do tomorrow is have a chat to Brendan and possibly get a couple of those live links that we can head to in the 2 big races tomorrow night. Maybe that's a doable option. We'll play around with that. Don't you worry. We do everything we can to ensure that we get as much as we can.
Yeah, no pressure on you, Brendan. You know what I mean? We know that.
Stir. All right, so now I've also got Yuri Swart asking about how the wild card works. Now, that's a good question there coming up on the WhatsApp group. The wild card, basically, Yuri, is not up to me. It's not up to Sash. It's not up to any of our production team. It comes out of race control, and that, of course, is being handled by Jason Holden-Jones, Richard Raymond, and part of our organizers, of course, coming out of Supercar Lifestyle. So those organizers will decide by the end of semi-final 4 who they deem to be the most worthy of getting that wild card drive and the 25th position on tomorrow night's grand final grid for race 1.
There we go. I think let's have a look at what we can expect for race 2 in terms of our grid. Maybe Brendan can just put that up on the screen. We can have a look at. Oh, yeah, we go. We've got 30 seconds.
Well, they're rolling out. It's on the left-hand side there, so Brendan doesn't have to worry. They are in grid position there on the left-hand side of the screen. Oh, but there you have it. Don't you worry. Brendan will definitely outgun me and make me feel really good.
We got an Audi 8 on pole position. I'm also watching out for my good friend Davide Favor, who's starting right at the back in 23rd. So it seems that we've also lost a couple of drivers from this heat.
Yeah, I'm just going to run through them quickly there. Robert Whiting is there. Mark Antle is there. Warren Farrant is. Chris Short is gone. So there's one that's missing. So Chris Short, unfortunately, I don't know what the issue was there with Shorty. Or it could have been an internet issue there. Yeah, possibly. Like I've got in my garage. Okay, so Wesley Farrant is there. Let's see. Lorenzo Guattari is there. Daniel Skuman is there. Johannes Schreling is there. Chris de Vet is there. Leon van Wyk. Lawrence Stern. Robbie is there. Henry Roux is there. Oh, we got a guy running off in the warm-up lap. That's not a good thing to do. Andrew Schofield is there. Craig Ecote is there. Rudy Murray is there. Valdo Swiggers is there.
All right, so Anthony Rafael is there.
Yeah, Anthony Rafael. There you go. So there's the other one that's not there. 16th. He's out of there. Darren Peens is there. Mike McGear is there in 19th. He's moved up a couple of positions. Johan Labuskakny, Barry Mayer, Batis Hugo, Kyle Menton, Donnie Miller, and Davide Favo. So it's Anthony Rafael and Chris Shorter who have not made the starting grid.
I must say, just got a cool message here from Kurt saying, watching from the couch. This is pretty cool. Thanks for the passion for motorsport, guys. It's our pleasure, Kurt. Thanks for joining us because this is pretty hairy stuff. And I tell you, after the first heat, I'm going to need a shower at the end of this. This is too much excitement for me. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And, of course, this is the kind of action we're hoping to bring you more and more of. And, of course, if there are any sponsors out there that want to join us and possibly give everybody a bit more entertainment and these drivers another option and another go at it, well, you know what to do. Get on to solidarityerace.co.za. Get hold of the organizers. And if you've got a little bit of ammo that you want to throw at this, there's certainly a lot of drivers out there that would love another run at it. And, of course, the second round of this championship would be pretty spectacular as well. We'll try and get a couple of international drivers to come and join us as well. Maybe play around with a few options of letting them come in because we did limit the original entries to people that are still based here in South Africa and are in lockdown. That was part and parcel of the rules. But there has been a couple of guys who've suggested it would have been nice to have the Van der Lindes, possibly even Jordan Pepper, maybe the likes of Stuart White. I know he had issues.
Yeah, and I think,
basically, Stuart White had a bit of an issue with the graphics card. Unfortunately, that's why he couldn't enter and wasn't able to get that graphics card sorted in time.
All right, before we get into the start of the race, they're coming out of the final part of Crocodiles and then, of course, into Cheetah and to Ingwe. But, for the international competitors that want to come on board, Greg, as well, if they pay, our South African competitors only paid, I think, 100 Rand or so to enter. If they pay €100, $100, £100, we'll just make like billions.
Yeah,
billions.
Exactly. if you look at the current change and the interest rate that dropped again this afternoon, we're going to be making huge money. Maybe we can get paid for this one, Sash.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
All right, here we go. Semi-final 2. It's Rob Whiting on the front row there. Mark Antal alongside him. It's Audi versus Porsche. Behind that, it's Porsche versus Audi. So literally a German invasion at the front end. We're going to go all the way down into 10th place to find the first of the Aston Martins. That's with Lawrence Stern and Rob will be alongside him. Lights out, and we're racing down towards turn 1. The 14 car there of Whiting getting the drop. But look at this. It's side-by-side action down towards turn 1. Porsche's mixing it up with the Audis as they head into that first corner. And now towards turn 2, Crowthorne. It's the Porsche on the inside. Great move on the inside there. Can he find a way past? No. A couple of Audis having to run wide there. I think that was Warren Farrant who just came through. Has he been able to squeeze up? No. It is Whiting who holds onto the lead. And it looks like Farrant has got through there on Antal. No, Antal hangs on just ahead of Warren Farrant. But Farrant has got big pressure coming from Lorenzo Gutteri just on his tail.
I got to tell you, watch out for Antal. He was unbelievable on the brakes. He's pushing Whiting everywhere as they're coming up to Clubhouse. Is he going to try and dive down the inside, or maybe he's going to wait until they get to the Crocodiles? But he is on a charge. That Porsche is flying on the first lap of our second heat. 15 minutes left to go.
Biggest mover of that start procedure came out of Daniel Skuman, I think it is. Daniel Skuman up in the third place. He's got through there on Farrant and on Lorenzo Gutteri. So Gutteri and Farrant losing out ever so slightly there. And Daniel moving up 2 positions, getting ahead of those 2 drivers. Then you've got De Wet. Chris De Wet making a good move as well, getting through there on Van Wyk and Stern. Lawrence Stern there in 9th place in the first of the non-German products. And there's a move. Wow, that is proper. You've got to have some big cojones to go through there. Going through the sweep at the bottom end of the mine shaft, and for second and third, so tight. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Mark Antal, how he kept Skuman out there, I don't know.
Well, I tell you, that's also given breathing space to Whiting as well up front. But he's got through. No, he hasn't got through as yet. It looks like Skuman has got through on Antal. Just waiting for
other way around. Other way around there. The 2 Audis are very similar colours there, Sash. So you've got the Audi out front there of Antal and Skuman is just hanging on. Warren Farrant now is becoming the defensive driver to keep out the second Audi, that one there of Lorenzo Gutteri. So Gutteri has got Krayling, he's got Van Wyk, and right behind them comes De Wet, Ecoats, and Roux. There is literally half a second splitting those 7 cars fighting for 4th to 11th.
I tell you, very, very close. Somebody running a little bit wide, taking a little bit of the dust at the moment. It is Whiting from Antal, Skuman, Farrant, Gutteri, as they're making their way, coming up to Clubhouse for the second time. And it looks like a furious pace. We've got a drive-through penalty for car number 56.
Baldo Swiegers.
Swiegers, unfortunately, don't know what the transgression was, but he's got the drive-through penalty. But this is a very fast pace.
We got that from our race control there, Sash. It looks like Valdo decided to take one of the cars completely out and rammed him off the circuit, so he was given the drive-through penalty, which of course literally takes him out of the race. I think it might have been Miller that he sent to the sideline because Miller's actually dropped behind him. So Miller loses out even more due to the fact that he got unceremoniously taken out. But Waldo has been given the drive-through penalty. He's taken it as we thought they would. But we continue this battle with Warren Farrant now trying to find a way through on Gutteri. On Skuman, I beg your pardon. Skuman now, just ahead there of Warren Farrant, Lorenzo Gutteri just behind that, and then you can see pushing hard is Krayling. So we've got a 3-way battle for what is now 4th place on track. And what a move there! Around the outside of the Porsche. How do you do that? Well, you had a Quattro system to do that, and he does it to perfection.
What an unbelievable move there. Phew, this pace is incredible. They're doing 142s at the moment. That was Wesley Farrant. Look at them going basically 3 abreast. Going into turn 2, it looks like the black Porsche, black Audi coming up on the inside as well.
It's Gutteri. Lorenzo Gutteri now side by side with Warren Farrant as they come there, and Farrant loses out. He drops back a little position. So you've got Daniel Skuman has moved to 2nd place now. Mark Antal is up into 3rd, and behind him is Warren Farrant and Lorenzo Gutteri fighting hard. Farrant loses a bit more ground there to Gutteri as they go into Sunset. You can see he's now trying to close down on the first Porsche, and this one looks like it might go to 2 and 3.
Yeah, just losing there, Greg, a little bit. But, I mean, coming out of Clubhouse, don't forget, it's only the top 6 that go through. And if you look at the top 9, there's nothing between them with 11 and a half minutes to go. This is going to take unbelievable mental concentration. No mistakes, because you've got to look where you're going in front. You've also got to defend. driving as well. 31 there. We're looking at Christopher Beck, looking very racy at the moment with Ferrand right behind him as they go through. Leopold down into the mine shaft.
Yeah.
This is a very good overtaking position possibility coming into the Crocodiles. Let's see if anyone changes their line. Yes, goes on the inside. That is car number 23, Gautieri, just holding it. Oh, he's running a little bit wide. Looks like the course of Van Grelen is going to have a chance, but gets blocked out.
Yeah, Greyling, I think, just lost a little bit of space there and ran a bit wide all on his own. So I'm trying to avoid the mistake that was made there by Lorenzo Gutteri. But Gutteri just managed to stay on track, and it was a bit of a loss there for Greyling. Greyling now side by side with Van Wyk as they come across the line. Van Wyk on the inside and the Audi, which of course will be the outside line for turn 2. So if that Porsche can just stay on the inside, Greyling might be able to outbrake him and hang on to that position. He goes late on the brakes. He forces the Audi to the outside line. He taps it! Oh, he's put him into the spin. Oh, there could be some trouble there for Greyling. He just helped that Audi around a little bit more than what we'd like. Have a look at it from the aerial material shot here. Oh, yeah, definitely helped out a bit there. Fortunately, everybody else behind took evasive action and just missed out the spinning Porsche. But I think there may be a little bit of a chat coming very soon to the man in the Audi for that little attempt and trying to find a way past.
Yeah, a little bit of a transgression. We'll have to see what's happening. We've got Whiting, Robert Whiting, who's clearly out in the lead after getting pressurized in the first lap. But with the scrap going on behind him between Anton Skuman, Gautieri and Eco, well, Gautieri is just up to Gautieri. Robert Whiting seems to be very, very comfortable. We got 9.5 minutes left. We're on board with Lorenzo Gautieri chasing that Audi in front of him and going down the mine shaft. Let's stay on board with him because maybe you'll try and go on the inside. Let's see what the Skuman does in terms of defensive driving. Gautieri tries and looks at the inside.
There we go. So it looks like Greyling's been given a 5-second penalty. Be added to his overall time at the end of the race. So we'll wait and see how that ends up. But as they head now down towards Ingwe corner, Lorenzo Gutteri late on the brakes, trying to close a little bit onto the back end there of Skuman and Antel. So it looks like Mark Antel at this point has the man with the target on his back. He's got 2 Audis very, very close in attendance. Behind that, Greyling, as I said, with a 5-second penalty. So he'll drop down probably a lap with that 5-second penalty incurred. And then it'll be Warren Ferrand who continues the battle there with Van Wyk and, of course, Eekhout. But now as they come into Crowthorne corner, watch this from the Porsche's point of view. This is Antel looking back at those 2 Audis as they go through Yuxkay. Now a little bit of double left-hander into Barbecue and onto the short straight towards Sunset. The Porsche certainly has the turner pace on those straights, but the Audis have got some great handling. And, of course, with the all-wheel drive quattro system that they've got, it certainly does help them out ever so slightly in the tighter and trickier bits. But they've got to try and capitalize and not fight each other, because by fighting each other, which we're seeing there from Skuman and Gutteri, they are losing ground to the Porsche. And, of course, that'll just give Mark Antel a bit of breathing room. Rob Whiting, almost 5 seconds up the road in the lead. So we don't haven't seen him as we drop back ever so slightly into the backpack here, looking at Gutteri heading to the top towards Leerkop. But if we just go a little bit further back there's about 6 or 7 cars that are absolutely hauling. Now as they come up here, this, of course, is Murray. Nice to see him up there as well. Rudy Murray having a bit of a fight of his own there with the 40 car of Henny Roux. Then you've got Rabobi just behind them. So the Spider-Man is all over the back looking for a way past and pushing that Aston Martin of his to the limit. You can see here's the yellow and black Aston Martin on the tailpiece of these 2 Audis as they come.
Yeah, I want to try and maybe if we get the end of what's happening with Ferrand and Echo, because these are the 2 guys that are definitely going to be pushing Greyling at 6th position when it comes to that 5-second penalty. Greyling only has 1.3 second gap over Ferrand. He's got to get it to over 5 seconds. But Eekhout and Ferrand are within a second of each other. So they're the ones who are going to be fighting for that much-needed 6th position in the second heat. Only the top 6 go through to our Solidarity E-Race final tomorrow evening.
There's late braking from the Aston Martin. Sorry to jump in there, Sash. And I thought that might happen. Exceptionally late braking from the Aston Martin, and he's taken out the Audi unceremoniously into Crowthorne corner. Watch this. That is exceptionally late braking, and there's just nowhere to turn in there. He takes the Audi out. That was the 50 car there, unfortunately being taken out of Rudy Murray. So Murray just being tapped from the back from that Aston Martin. And that's not the way you want to go into Crowthorne corner. So there's probably going to be a little bit of a chat there from our race control to Rubbleby, pulling a bit of a late Spider-Man dive into Crowthorne corner. So he's going to be in some big trouble. Further up, Grayling looks like he's starting to pull a bit of a gap by the looks of things and starting to attempt to get away from Warren Ferrand. He's coming up on some back markers. That could come into play as well now.
Yeah, Grayling.
Those back.
Yeah, he's actually trying to go fast on the making the 5 seconds. Do it. And they come down through the mine shaft yet again. We've got Johannes Grayling that is holding that position. And he's got through from Van Beek. And now he's got 5 seconds between himself and Lorenzo Gartiri. But now he really has to push the hammer down if he wants to try and make up for the 5-second penalty that he's going to be given at the end.
Van Beek out of shape on a cheese griller roll-off point, and you can see on the 29 car of Grayling trying to find a way through and capitalize. He's done that, and he's going to take the 22 Porsche Ferrand with him. So the 2 Porsches capitalizing on a mistake there from the Audi driver. Can they keep it all together as they go through turn 1? The kink inside line for the Porsche is the ideal line to be on, and Warren Ferrand seems to have just a little bit more drive down that straightaway into Crowthorne. He's late on the brakes. He's going to try and force the Audi wide, which he does to perfection, and the 2 Porsches eventually squeeze through and drop that Audi back down into what is now 6th place.
Sure, I tell you, some great driving over there, and very brave from the Audi. I thought he was going to outbrake himself going into turn 2 into Crowthorne, but lost a bit of place. Now those 2 Porsches pushing each other, coming through Sunset, of course, coming up to Clubhouse as well. Will he try and dive down the inside? No, he's going to get hard on the brakes here and maybe try and do something for the essence.
Well, this is fantastic. Porsche Racing versus the Audi R8 LMS. You can see just how hard they are driving these cars, pushing them to the limits, pushing those what would be Pirelli tires, because that's what they run in the Intercontinental GT Championship, up towards Leeuwkop. Looking for a chance now. This is very, very close racing, and you can see Warren Ferrand has not found a way past yet, although he is looking the most dangerous Porsche on track right now, and just trying to soak up the pressure being applied from behind is Grayling. So Grayling heading down the second fastest part of the circuit now into the street at the bottom end of the mine shaft and on the brakes. Here comes Audi diving on the inside. Can we see Van Beek squeeze through? Yes, we can. Can he keep it all together and square it up for the corner? That is a brilliant maneuver.
Yeah, fantastic driving there from the Audi of Van Beek. But the man who's really got to put the hammer down is Grayling, who's leading out of these 3 at the moment. He's got he's only got about 2 seconds to sort of. He's only got 2 seconds at the moment to keep him into the top 6. It looks like Ferrand will definitely will take that position.
This is the battle for the top 6 here, Dash. Yeah. This is literally the battle for the top 6. So these guys are going to have to fight it out right to the checkered flag, and it's probably about 2 or 3 laps to go in this race. So you can see just how difficult it is for these guys as they are getting into the crux of it now. Any mistake right now is going to be massive. Now we go back to the battle for the mint condition Porsche there of Chris de Wet as he comes up onto the back straight there. So de Wet, Eekhout, and of course Henny Roux all fighting for honours here. Roux in the Audi around the outside. What a move! Around the outside of Sunset. I mean, come on. Who does that in a Porsche, Sasha Martinengo?
That's just extraordinary driving as well. Looking amazing. Chris de Wet, and he's got Roux and Eekhout right behind him as well. This is fighting just for glory. Well, you never know. Other drivers could make a couple of mistakes as well. But looks like Ferrand is going to be the lucky one. And Grayling, unfortunately, is the unfortunate one. He's going to lose out because of his 5-second penalty that is going to be issued. Look at these 3 again. Unbelievable.
Porsche side by side. I wonder if Warren Ferrand actually realizes that Grayling's been given that 5-second penalty. He'll see it, I'm sure, on his screen. And if he can see it, there's no reason to really push as hard as what he's pushing. But of course, we say that as racing drivers ourselves in some format during our careers. When you're in a battle like this, you don't really care about the penalties that have been incurred. You want to finish up against the guys you're racing with right here at the best of your ability and hopefully outgun them on the track before you even get any penalties incurred.
Yeah, try to tell a racing driver to go slowly, Greg. Good luck with that one.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't happen. Anyway, apparently I've made a faux pas on my commentary ever so slightly, and I got sorted out there by Nico Roots. So apologies to everybody. Apparently, all of these cars are rear-wheel drive. So all the Audi fans out there, they're not using the Quattro system. They are all rear-wheel drive. So apologies for that. We'll try and remember that as much as possible. But why do we want to spoil the story with the facts?
Exactly. Here we go. We're into the final 1 minute and 30 seconds. Rob Whiting out front. We haven't been with him for quite a while, but he's got a 5.5 second lead over Antel. Galtieri's dropped his pace quite significantly. Skuman right on the back of him. But there's a 6 second gap to Van Beek. So we're on board with Wesley Ferrand. And he's pushing like crazy to get a hold of Freyling. Freyling maybe realizes that 5 second penalty. Oh, what a brilliant! That was incredible. Nearly took him out, but wow, brilliant driving from Wesley Ferrand. Getting on the inside of Freyling. Is he going to make it hold? Look at that for driving. Brilliant stuff. That was...
we just saw the one Porsche making the mistake there and running wide, allowing Wesley Ferrand a chance to dive through. So onto the final lap now for Rob Whiting with a big gap over Mark Antel. So Mark Antel, unfortunately, going to have to settle for second place here. But remember, we've got to just get them up into the top 6. That's the most important factor to have tonight. If you're in that top 6, that is where you need to be to ensure yourself a place in tomorrow night's grand finale. And that's exactly what Rob Whiting has done, literally from the word go. He was on pole position. He was 3 positions higher up than Mark Antel. But remember, Antel himself and Wesley Ferrand were only about half a second between them. So there is absolutely nothing in it. So to capitalize and to make a move like Rob Whiting has done to get away from a very, very experienced pack behind him has been some good driving.
Yeah, very much so. Just looking at his times, his fastest time was a 1:41.0 compared to a 1:40.7 in the previous race. But Rob Whiting hasn't had any real competition besides that first lap, so he's probably taken a little bit easier and just controlled his pace. The gaps in this race are quite different compared to what we saw in the first heat.
And the other thing is, I'm glad you brought times into it, Sash, because remember, the top 6 that come out of this heat, their fastest lap out of this heat will dictate where they start tomorrow night, race 1 in the grand finale. So it is vitally important to try and get a very hot lap in here at some point in the semi-final to ensure that you've got a decent lap time to move. I thought you weren't allowed to do donuts at Kyalami.
Well, it looks perfect to me.
That's the rule at the real track. But running through those results there quickly, Sash. Let's have a look at them. Go from the top, buddy.
Yeah, Robert Whiting with a very, very comprehensive victory in the Audi, finishing ahead of Antel, Galtieri, Skuman, Van Beek, and De Wet. And also quite a mix there. I mean, in the first heat, we had 3 Porsches in the front. Yeah, we've got 4 Audis out of the top 6 and 2 Porsches making their way into the final 4 tomorrow. But another great heat between these drivers. And I wonder how they're feeling at the moment. I think they're also sweating a little.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a little bit of antics on the Facebook page as well as on the WhatsApp group in a few minutes' time. So once again, a phenomenal second semi-final there. Congratulations, of course, to Rob Whiting doing it all right from the word go. Literally didn't put a wheel wrong. And he's done an incredible job to stay out front. He beat out Mark Antel in the Porsche. Then it was a good drive coming out of Lorenzo Galtieri. Galtieri, as I said, initially in the start of this competition was the early pace setter. So he knows what to do. And, of course, he's also driven this circuit in real life in a race car too, having been part of the Bridgestone BMW Car Club Racing Series and, of course, also part of the G&H Transport Extreme Supercar Racing Series now as well in that big BMW of his. So he'll certainly be looking forward to the battle tomorrow night. Lap times we don't get at the moment, but, of course, our lap times will only be put into play as of tomorrow night when we give you the grid. So we'll see who, of course, the top qualifiers were and who gets onto that pole position based on their fastest laps out of each of these semi-final heats.
Yeah, as well. I think Galtieri will also be quite happy. I mean, don't forget, in that heat, he started in 5th position. He finished up in 3rd. So hopefully, if he has put in a decent enough lap time, he'll be right up there. You know, it's going to be a very mixed grid. And I assume the other gamers who have been watching now sit there and say, well, listen, I need to get number 1 into that top 6. And then, of course, I want to try and put in a proper time. You never know. We could get a pole position out of our next 2 heats as well.
Now, the strategy, I think, is starting to come into play, and it's actually not a bad thing to be in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th semi-finals because you can see what goes down, what transpires on the track. how those conditions come into play, how the guys try and put themselves into compromising positions and winning positions if possible, because that's all part and parcel of how the strategy works when you're doing this as a virtual simulation of what would actually happen out on track. So once again, congratulations, Rob Whiting beating out Mark Antle. Third place to Terry, fourth place to Daniel Skuman, fifth place went to Leon van Wyk, and sixth place, Wesley Farrant. And apologies, Wes, I kept calling you Warren. I'm not quite sure why, but it's definitely Wesley Farrant that's out there. As we see our next session now making their way out, and that's the way to start things out. Tiaan van Rooyen literally looping out a Lamborghini. That's the way we want to go.
Well, I tell you, he's lucky that's not the race. That's for sure. But having a look at our grid, this, if you missed us a little bit earlier, this is like the group of death if it came to a football match. Because look at that, your top 8 guys all finished within the top 27 of their qualifying. So there is everything to play for when it comes to this heat. I think turn 1 is going to be hairy, Greg.
There we go. As they make their way out into the circuit, we're going to have a look and see at that Group C and, of course, semi-final number 3. Our top qualifiers in this heat, that's Zahir Essa. He, of course, one of our top media guys in this country as well. So good to have him here. One of our best racing simulating drivers there in second place. And, of course, he also finished second overall, Jason Absmeyer. Now, if we look at the 2 qualifying times that came out of them, Zahir Essa did a 1 minute 40.017. Absmeyer did a 1 minute 40.200. And then if we go down into what is 10th place, Alvin Smith, who's third on the grid here, he was in a 1 minute 40.6. So you've got 0.4 of a second splitting those first 3 in this heat and semi-final number 3. Quade Claessen's behind that, who did a great job to finish 11th overall in the top 100. Then it's Julian Familiaris, another man who comes out of Bridgestone BMW Car Club Racing Series and has moved on to the Mobil 1 V8 Supercars now, joining the likes of Terry and Larry Wolford and the Ben Morgenroth of the world, and has become a very, very seasoned campaigner in that category. And in that class, he drives a big V8 Corvette. So let's see what he's gone with this evening and see what if the choice is going to be to perfection to get him into that top 6.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, look at that beautiful orange Aston Martin. They're all in sort of free practice session here. We've got about 3 minutes or so before the start of our third semi-final heat. That car number 65, Sean Buck, just going around the track. Lots to play for, Greg. It's, in any form of motor racing, extremely difficult to overtake, but you've got to be aggressive at the right places, and you've got to make sure that you get your lines right in order to have the opportunities when those overtaking opportunities arrive.
Just getting official notification on our management group as well there, Stash. Official notice, due to a minor technical issue and by special invitation, the wild card place in tomorrow's final will be determined by a 5-lap qualifying and a 5-lap sprint race to be run immediately after tonight's semi-final 4. So it looks like the drivers that are up for the wild card are going to get an invitation to participate in a 5-lap qualifying and then straight into a 5-lap sprint race after semi-final 4 later this evening.
Okay, well, there we go. Some interesting news that comes out of the main control when it comes to racing. One of the Porsche just stopping on the track there, maybe trying to get their start set up. But we're just a couple of minutes away from semi-final 3. You got to believe that Zahir Essa is definitely the man to beat you. But Jason Absmeyer has been pretty impressive in the qualifying runs as well, Greg.
Yeah, I think you've got to take those first 6, and of course, remember, we are fighting for top 6 positions here to ensure yourself a position in the final tomorrow night. And those top 6, right down to Chris Heineke, were all within the same half a second of each other in the official qualifying for the top 100. So those top 6 are going to be fighting it to the tooth and nail. And as I said, this is definitely the group of death. So if you look at the grid, heading towards us there, the 2 Porsches on the front row, Zahir Essa and Jason Absmeyer will lead them out in about 50 seconds' time. Alvin Smith and Quade Claessen's will be on the second row. Familiaris and Chris Heineke on the third row ahead of Lane Hutchins and Jared Van Bergen. Alton Bow, who comes out of karting and has moved on to become a very, very talented young NX Legends driver, and then stepped up into the Van der Linde team, Signature Motorsport, as part of the Utinga Polo Cup He's there in 9th, and alongside Zander Roots.
Just wanted to interrupt you there. Unfortunately, it looks like we have lost Chris Heineke from a 6th position, so seems to have some kind of technical issue. You see the Audi raising itself up and down? There we go. No, Craig Parsons is there. It seems like we've lost Alvin Smith as well. Alvin Smith seems to have disappeared. So we'll get...
He's qualified 10th, so I'm not quite sure what's gone wrong with him. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody else, I think, is there. So it's Heineke and Smith that have not made it out here in time for semi-final number 3. So it just changes things up ever so slightly there. Instead of having 6 drivers who all qualified within the same half a second of each other in that top 100, and of course the 19 drivers in that top 100 were the drivers that we had to, of course, take into the 1 minute 40 bracket. We're now down to 4 of them. So that's how close it's got.
Oh, it's going to be incredibly tight. It's 2 Porsches, first and second, leading this semi-final. Number 3 of the Solidarity E race, Essa and Absmeyer. Then we've got Claessens in the Audi, Familiaris in the Porsche, Hutchins in the Porsche, and Van Bergen, who is in the Aston Martin. So that's your top 8 at the moment. Don't forget your top 6 are the ones that go through into the finals for tomorrow. And just been announced, if you just missed it, at the end of our 4th semi-final this evening, there's going to be a 5-lap sprint out for our wild card entries to see who goes, who makes it onto the final grid for tomorrow evening.
Sash, basically, they'll be the man who wins that race. Whoever wins that race will go through and become 25th and the last of the wild card entry. So that wild card is all or nothing. If you don't win, you're not going to be there. That's how it's going to work, I'm sure. So as they come round into sunset and start putting those Pirelli tyres up, I think keep an eye out on Stuart Mack as well, a man who comes out of some saloon car racing. The Aussie Drive Volkswagen Challenge. He's the Class B contender in there. Not used to driving a rear-wheel drive Porsche. He's normally in a Golf 1 front-wheel drive. So a little bit of different machinery, but out of the same stable. But have a look at the bottom right of the screen there. Fat Man Racing. That's my kind of guy.
Fat Man Racing. You go, Stuart. There we go. That's what you call extra ballast.
You need it on the mine shaft, eh? It definitely helps down the mine shaft. I can tell you that big time. If you can get
there we go. It is gravity and downhill.
Momentum is your friend.
Okay.
I can tell you that from
the guys
downhill
that the guys are making their way through Crocodiles now, and then of course they got about 600 meters before they get to the start line. It is a rolling start, so here Essa will lead them out of Ingwe down the start-finish line. They will wait for the green flag, and then it is a flat out getting on this opening lap of probably over 200 kilometers an hour as they get into through the kink and into turn 2 at Crowthorne. So here we go. They're going through Cheetah at the moment. So here at Essa on the left-hand side of your screen. Jason Absmeyer on the right-hand side of your screen. They're going to be waiting for the green lights. We're getting to the start of semi-final number 3 of the Solidarity E Race Challenge. Waiting for the green lights. Here we go.
So here is an Absmeyer, side by side. Watch for the drop there. Remember, they can't accelerate until those lights go out. When the lights go off, they can drop the hammer. And yes, it does exactly that. Absmeyer slots in right behind him. Here comes the third of the Porsches, Familiaris, stuck in, trying to find a way past the can't get through on Claessens with a fantastic start now, trying to thread the needle between those Porsches. Big move on the inside from the 15 car there of Julian Familiaris. Has he been able to get through? Yes, he has. It looks like there's no incidents in the turn 1 for the first time in all 3 of the semi-final we've seen so far. And as they come through Yuxke now, Absmeyer around the outside. And Essa tries to force him onto the dirty stuff, but Absmeyer hangs onto that outside line. What a start here from Absmeyer. Absmeyer just using the rumble strip there to keep the car on track. And he's going to hit the front as they go in front. He's got the front and ahead of the Essa. What a move.
That was unbelievable driving from both of them. They both could have taken each other out, but brilliant move from Absmeyer. Takes the lead from Essa and it goes through. Clubhouse going to make his way into the Essas. Claessens in third. Familiaris in fourth position. Look at this driving, coming round the outside. Great driving from both of each other, giving each other a little bit of space. And Absmeyer now definitely has the right line going into Sunset. So brilliant driving. Jason Absmeyer takes the lead of semi-final number 3 ahead of Zahir Essa and Quinton Craig Claessens in third position.
Craig Claessens actually had a little bit of manoeuvring happening of his own there with Julian Familiaris and with Lane Hutchins as they came into the same corner. They were 3x3 as the two Porsches were side by side. And Claessens has now closed that gap down. A little bit of a bump there from the 24 car there, so Hutchins just using a bit of the curb. You might have to watch out for that. You can't use too much of that curbing, otherwise you might be deemed to be extending or exceeding the track limits. Have a look at fifth place there, Sacha Martinengo. Elton Bow, arguably, I would say the youngest driver actually involved in this category of racing here this evening, is up into fifth place behind Zander Roots and just ahead of Julian Familiaris. So there's been some chopping and changing for what is 5, 6, and 7th place on track.
Yeah, well, Familiaris managed to get past Van Bergen, but you're right. Anton Bow doing a great job, only 3/10 behind Zander Roots as well. So terrific racing in this first lap around Kyle Army of our semi-final number 3. We're on board with Julian Familiaris and making their way up to Leerkop. Now what's he going to try and do? Oh, sorry, going into Sunset. He's going to try and go on the inside. Can he hold on to the line? Oh, he's not on the right line yet, but maybe he'll do the undercut. But a great drive being Familiaris and Anton Bow, as you say, the youngster. So going to have to keep his head right together for the next 13 and a half minutes.
Listen, Bow will be up for that kind of challenge, having been involved in the Finger Cup. Esther getting back into the front there, by the looks of things ahead of Craig Claessens. Looks like there's been a mistake somewhere. Have we lost Absmeyer? Yes, Absmeyer
right at the back.
Absmeyer must have been given some kind of penalty. I'm just going to have a look and see if there's something comes up on our board. It hasn't come up there, but it certainly looks like Jason Absmeyer's had a problem, or he's had to do a drive penalty, or something's gone wrong there. But Jason Absmeyer now right in the back, up in 22nd place. So it's Essa from Claessens, and now Hutchins up into third ahead of Roots. Familiaris has got through on Elton Bow. So I was just about to say, Elton Bow would be used to being in such close contact, having been involved in the Uttinger Polo Cup now for the last 3 seasons, and you know how close that racing is. So a little bit of pressure from Familiaris or from Van Bergen wouldn't be much of a factor for that youngster. But there is definitely a huge battle starting to rage now between Claessens and Hutchins for second place.
Yeah, we've got to see Kanze Essa stretch the legs of that. Oh, it looks like somebody behind Stuart Mack in 20th position. Looks like Absmeyer spun again.
I think it might have been Hutchins. Hutchins might have spun out there. I didn't quite get the number. It was the yellow Porsche in the background. This is Mack heading down towards turn 1 and turn 2. So it looks like it might have been Foster. Yeah, it's Foster, Byron Foster, who spun out there. We just got the last part of it. But Foster getting it all wrong and dropping himself behind Stuart Mack now for 21st place.
Yeah, let's go to Zaire. Esther's got a little bit of a lead, 1.5 seconds. But for second place, Claessens and Hutchins. Hutchins just 3/10 behind Claessens. It's Porsche versus Audi for second and third. And we're just seeing Esther seems to be pretty comfortable. Still don't know what happened to Absmeyer. He was leading the race, had a brilliant opening lap, and has disappeared 2 laps down. As we're on board, Jared Van Bergen. Oh, that's a huge
Aston Martin coming together there with another Porsche. I think it was with a Porsche on the outside. Let's have a look at that. No, it's an Audi. So having a look at this, there you go. A little tap. The Audi gets sent into the outside of the third apex there of Leerkop corner. I've seen that on a numerous amount of occasions. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen cars go off at that point. But the Aston Martin could be in trouble there. That was Ian Upton, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So Ian Upton coming together with the Porsche, I think, of Andrews, it might be. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But we're now on board. We're heading down towards turn 1 with Lane Hutchins, trying to close down on Claessens for second place. So Essa getting away to the tune of 2.1 seconds now over Claessens and Hutchins. Zander Roots hanging on still for 4th place. Familiaris is 5. And Berger has now got through on Buck Van Bergen. What has happened to Elton Bow? He's also made a mistake somewhere on the track. He's dropped down to 15th place.
Yeah, I tell you, the pressure definitely mounting. The guys have seen what's happened in the previous 2 semi-final races. So it's all to play for. Your top 6, Berger and Buck. Can Buck consolidate himself and get back to try and pressurize Berger? but just lost another place to Van Bergen. So Van Bergen's got it all to do. He's 1.7 seconds behind Berger, and 6th place is what you want to get as a minimum when it comes to these races. We've got 10 minutes left of our third out of 4 semi-final heats for the Solidarity E-Race.
We've still got to do the wild card race at the end as well. So there's another 2 heats of racing to come. So some exceptional action so far. This, of course, is semi-final number 3. The group of death, we called it. And, of course, there's some deadly manoeuvres that have happened on track. Hutchins now trying to close down on the back end of Quade Larson's very late into the Crocodiles and manages to hang on. But there is definitely some pressure being applied now by the forces who are on board with HSC Racing. Lane Hutchins at the wheel. Want to close that gap down across him. So only half a second. It's still about the same amount of gap there between them in terms of time. Let's see if he's able to do anything about it as they keep flying out. Let's pass down Horton. Maybe just change up that onboard shot if you can and have a look at the dash cam and see what the speed is of the Porsche. As it heads down towards Crowthorne, if we can get it under our direct will try and find that later on. But in the qualifying session and in the hot lap, the Porsches were getting close to the 280k an hour mark before they climb on the exit at the 100-meter mark.
Well, I tell you, just looking at that timing screen that came up there, just seeing the splits between the 2 drivers. I mean, there's nothing between Lane Hutchins and Quinton Klaassen. So, I mean, these guys are really pushing each other incredibly hard, making their way up to Clubhouse through Sunset. What a magnificent corner, one of the best corners in motor racing. Very strong on the brakes is that Porsche, pushing the Audi in front of him. So let's see if anything can happen as they go through the S's now. Opportunity will come up at Leerkop and then, of course, down the mine shaft for Lane Hutchins. We're on board with Craig Clarson's looking back at Lane Hutchins in the Porsche. Let's see what can happen in the next couple of seconds.
So from yeah, just picking up on that action coming through the E-Race management group there. It looks like Jason Absmeyer's steering wheel in his rig disconnected, and it caused his car to go off the circuit completely. So that was the reason why we lost Jason Absmeyer from the lead of this race. So it looks like a technical issue in his rig at home actually cost him the opportunity of possibly getting into the top 6. And, of course, he's now pulled out of the race completely and has ejected himself from a potential position in any of the top 21 there. That's a big pity for him, Tash.
It is a huge pity, and I'm sure he's not a very happy chappy at the moment. It reminds me of Kimi Räikkönen asking for his steering wheel in the Formula 1 race. Sure, Absmeyer is feeling the same way as well. Here's Neil Berger. We're on board. He's at 6th position, and of course, he is chasing Rutz in front of him. These two got to be very careful because Van Bergen is looking for that 6th position as well. This is going to be tears for one of these 3 in the next 7 minutes.
Rutz at this stage in 5th place, Berger in the Porsche, the sort of purple and yellow colours of that Porsche. He's in the 6th place. He's on the bubble, as we call it, sitting there in the 6th position, and right on his tail, closing down rapidly with Van Bergen. So Van Bergen is probably the biggest antagonist here. Van Bergen on the 22nd car. That's a great number, by the way, as he comes into Clubhouse corner. Closing down on the back end of the battle now between this Porsche that we're on board with there. That's Neil Berger. And behind him, of course, is the hard-charging Aston Martin. Now, that Aston Martin could spoil the day here for the Audi or for the Porsche, depending on how many positions it can make up in the next couple of minutes. We're at 6 minutes to go almost, and the battle is on for 6th place. And remember, the top 6 is where you need to be to ensure you're in tomorrow night's final.
There we go. It's Berger pushing Rutz. And I mean, Rutz is definitely the winner out of everybody so far. He started in 10th and now he's up to 5th. So it's into that final already, but he's going to have to hold everything he's got and do everything he can to keep those 2 drivers behind him. He definitely wants to get there. Berger and Van Bergen pushing like crazy on Zander Rutz.
Certainly are. They're starting also to close down ever so slightly on the back end of Julian Familiaris. So as they cross the line and complete another lap, we've got 5.5 minutes to go in this one. It looks like our timing guys and the race control have also got the timing to perfection because each of the previous 2 heats definitely finished up on 10 laps completed. So great job from Jason Holden-Jones and our back office there with Richard Raymond doing all the back office support. And as they come now into, of course, that short straight, you can see closing down. This is Neil Berger that we're going to be following into. And as he comes in there, he just got Roots ahead of him in the Audi. And the purple and yellow, of course, I was talking about a Berger. And behind him is that gold and white machine, the Aston Martin V8 Vantage, trying to get a bit of British product in between the Germans. Are we allowed to mention the war here? I think I did, but I got away with it, Zach.
On back with Lane Hutchins, his best time of 41.1. I'm sure I'll direct a little bit later, but you can see that, I mean, these two are still battling it out brilliantly, waiting for one of the drivers to make a mistake. They make their way down, of course, through to the Crocodiles, but the Porsche very good on the brakes, but not being able to do anything about the Audi. Want to see a little bit later what Zaire Esser's times are looking like. Lane Hutchins 41.1. That's his fastest time. I think he can go quicker, Greg, if he gets in front of Craig Claessens.
If he can just get ahead of him, he might be being held up here ever so slightly. I don't know if we've got a different option to show us that steering wheel for your director if we can, and have a look and see. This is Zaire Esser heading into Crowthorne. I wanted to try and get a shot of the dash cam if we can on the next run down to Crowthorne. That's the fastest part of the circuit, so it'll be interesting to see what the speedometer says as they head down onto the breakers there at the 100-meter marker. But Esser doing it all right, currently sitting on a 140.968. His fastest has been a 140.431, Sash. So that's a pretty decent lap time. That is the quickest so far, yeah.
Yeah, it is the quickest so far. So at this stage, Zaire Esser is on pole position at this stage for tomorrow night's final. So great driving from him. Still nothing between Claessens and Hutchins, and there's still that great fight that is going on between Roots, Van Bergen, and Berger. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, within the next 3 minutes, we're going to find out one of them is not going to be a happy chappy, because it's only the top 6 that go through. We're on board now with Berger. Oh, and there he's in 7th position, going over the rumble strips, and he's pushing hard to Van Bergen and Roots. Roots getting all of the pressure from Van Bergen as well. So nothing between these 3 drivers. Superb skill from all of them. No one making a mistake. The other one trying to get in there as quickly as possible. Flashing lights as well, saying, get out of my way.
Yeah, I think he's getting frustrated, and the frustration now is dropping him back. He's realised that he's lost the toe there to the Aston Martin and to the Audi, so there's a very good possibility that he's now going to have to try and keep it all together to try and make up the ground. We're watching Van Bergen go through Cheetah. Oh, and the Audi's out of shape. That Audi's out of shape properly. Zander Roots got it completely wrong there, and as they cross the line, that is going to gift a manoeuvre here for Van Bergen and for Berger. Roots got it completely things. I'm not quite sure if we can get a replay of that, maybe an aerial shot of that replay, but Roots got it completely locked up, heading towards Ingwe Corner. He's got back on track, but you can see he's now dropped right out of it. So there's a bit of maneuvering that has happened. Here it is. There's the aerial shot. Have a look at this. Just oh, that is huge. That is massive. 3, 4, 5, 6 times he spun around 360 degrees, and even the Porsche.
Exactly, the Porsche took evading action and gave the place back to Roots. So Roots, I tell you, may be pretty lucky out of all of this. Dropped from 5th to 7th for a second, and then back into 6th place. So still to fight for, but it just shows you the pressure with only a couple of minutes to go is intense. Roots holding on for dear life from Berger in that 6th position.
How did he stay in 6th place there? Come on. He spun that car around 366 times, Sasha Montenegro.
I know, but I think the problem is Berger got so confused by it. He ran himself wide coming out of Ingwe, and that allowed Roots to come back on the inside. But that's given great leeway to Van Bergen. So he's pretty happy at the moment. So Van Bergen looking pretty comfortable at the moment, but the fight is still on. Berger with only 50 seconds left of this race. Who is going to manage to get into that final tomorrow? Berger got it all to do. It's Porsche versus Audi.
And our leader started his last lap, so had 2nd place Craig Claessens and Lane Hutchins. Those are the 2 cars. We see the Audi there of Claessens heading towards Crowthorne, and behind him Lane Hutchins in the Porsche. So the top 3 have started their final one. Claessens for ATK. Of course, I think he's a teammate, if I'm not mistaken, to the man we're going to see in a couple of minutes' time there, Bashir Jadwat, the man we spoke to last night there. ATK, of course, have got a couple of their drivers involved in this one. So the Ghost Bash part of this Hutchins is riding for, so we'll keep an eye on that. But here's the man who's done absolutely nothing wrong in this third semi-final. So here, Essa, he put the fastest lap together so far of all three semi-finals, which could secure him, if nobody goes quicker than him in the next semi-final, pole position for tomorrow.
Yeah, a superb drive from Zahir Essa. You got to feel very sorry for Jason Absmeyer. He had a technical problem. His steering wheel came off. He was leading the race after a brilliant move on Essa going into the second corner. But Zahir Essa, once he got to the front, nothing challenged him. He's done a superb job. Rutz seems to be very, very comfortable. Has extended his lead over Berger. So Rutz is he's gonna count himself extremely lucky. But it is Essa, it's Claessens, it's Hutchins, Familiaris, Van Bergen, and Rutz. Those are the top six that look like are going to be going through into our final tomorrow evening.
Yeah, it's been an amazing semi-final three here, but coming to the checkered flag now for Zahir Essa. He's done it all to perfection. Put the fastest lap in so far. Lights ablaze as he crosses the line. Even goes with the lights ablaze. So just probably emulating his favorite racing drivers. Claessens comes through for second, making an Audi sandwich. The meat and the sandwich between the two Porsches there for first, second, and third. Familiaris gets the fourth place in his Porsche for Fame Racing. And here comes that incredible number 27 Aston Martin of Van Bergen. Look at that in the background. They've got the smoke and the fireworks going. We don't hold anything back here. No expense was spared from Supercar Lifestyle to ensure that the action comes on track as well as off it. Are we going to get any burnouts here and any donuts? Have a look and see.
Well, I got to tell you, that dice between Van Bergen, Rutz, and Berger was just superb. Van Bergen, I suppose, got a little bit lucky when Rutz spun, and then Berger got unlucky when Rutz spun. But a terrific dice between those three drivers.
So here we go. So that is the official the official results there. Essa, Claessens, Hutchins, Familiaris, Van Bergen, and Rutz, your top six. That's how they finished up there. And of course, some great battles that happened there as well. Absmeyer, unfortunately, with a problem at home, never mind on track, with his entire steering system coming apart. That's not quite what he wanted, that is for sure. But I'm sure that he'll try and sort that out. And hopefully, if we get a chance to do this again, he'll come back and join us for another effort here in the Solidarity E-Race. A massive, massive thank you to everybody behind the scenes, of course, for putting on this incredible show. And we know from what I'm seeing from my Facebook feed, and I'm sure the same thing from Sasha's feed, I just wanted to try and get those results a little bit longer, please, Bren, if I can. It looks like there's been some great traction here on all four of the pages we're going out on.
It's just incredible. I mean, everyone is just glued to their screens or mobiles or smart TVs or whatever, enjoying the action with us. So it's just terrific. Also, Greg, getting quite a few WhatsApp messages from people sitting and saying, geez, I'm watching it. How can I enter? And I go, well, Brew, you're a little bit late. This one's already done, but we will do it again. That's for sure. So just terrific stuff.
That's what it's all about. That's what we're hoping to bring everybody in. Of course, I'm looking there. It still gives Absmeyer second place on that result. I don't know if that's right. I think that's our qualifying. That's not the results of the race there, Brendan, unfortunately. So I don't know if you can pull that result up again.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's definitely not the right result that we got up there. So we're not going to go with that result. But, of course, at this stage, a great dice expected now for semi-final number 4.
We got semi-final number 4, and also the news that we got in during that race as well is that there will be, I just want to read it, a wildcard invitational. It's a 5-lap qualifier, 5-lap sprint race. The winner of that, one driver only, will go through and become our 25th competitor in the final tomorrow evening. Only one more semi-final to go, Greg. I can't believe how quickly it's going.
Yeah, it's amazing, buddy. It's amazing. I'm just picking up on a couple of guys sending me, and it's literally messages are flowing in here from every kind of social media aspect you can name. One guy who's definitely trying to get hold of me, I'm going to give him a bit of a mention there if he doesn't hear it already, is Andrew Colbert, who, of course, is our good friend down in East London in the PE region, driving out of the logistics company. Andrew Colbert. To get hold of somebody right now for Solidarity E-Race, your best bet is probably going to be to go onto the website, solidarityerace.co.za. I know you're trying to log on and get the Assetto Corsa game set up. Hopefully they can help you out there, buddy. I don't know if they can, but that's your best bet right now. And please send all our very best, of course, to your teammate there, Son Mudley. We hope you've enjoyed all this action from Bigfoot Express Freight's point of view.
Yeah, also, I think important, a lot of people might be sitting and saying, well, what race is this? How do I get involved? It is the Assetto race that the guys are racing on. There are so many different ones out there, but I mean, this one just quite spectacular.
Yeah, it was an absolutely amazing effort from the team to get it all together. And I'm looking forward to the final heat now, of course, of the semi-finals. It's not the final race of the evening. We've still got one more to go, as Sash mentioned, for the wild card. It's an invitational, so basically anybody can jump in, and whoever wins that race will go through. So that's how that one's going to work, straight off the semi-final 4 now. But as we wait for them to get out into their last practice session, Sash, the engagement that we've had here via your page, my page, Solidarity E-Races page, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. It's just been mind-blowing. And I think a lot of people don't realize the value of what we've put together here. So practice session is out now for, of course, our qualifying for semi-final 4. The man to watch out for in this one is going to be the man that we're watching right now in car 4, Ulrich Enslin. One of SA's finest gamers, and certainly the odds-on favorite for this heat.
Yeah, watch out for him. And of course, we spoke to Bashir Jadwat, who's in 4th place. Look at those times from qualifying or from this practice session. Nothing. I mean, the top 6 are split by 0.6 of a second. The top 4 split by 0.2 of a second. So this is going to be an extremely, extremely tight race. And we've got our good friend Colin Hastie going to start down in 23rd place. We've got Michael van Rooyen, who's up there in 10th place as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
There he is, Colin Hastie in number 99. So maybe Georgie Lorenzo can bring him a little bit of luck there with the 99 on the side of his car. But just looking at this pack, we have got everybody except for Ulrich, according to what I see. Unless he might have jumped out. He was definitely on the start. I hope he hasn't had a problem and had to pull out of this one. It says that Patterson is 2nd and McCall is 3rd, which means I'm also missing. I don't know where Patterson's come from. Patterson's a new driver. He's not even on my list.
Ulrich's there.
There we go. Okay, they've reshuffled it. I was just looking at what was up on the left-hand side. So Ulrich Enslin is there.
Yeah,
all right,
just
so if we
going
run
out
through the grid positions that'll be going out in the Bentley there, as I saw it going out there as well. That'll be, I think it's Van Rensburg, who's in the Bentley. Mark Van Rensburg in 36. 28 at the top of the hill up at Leeuwkop. That will be Jeff Kruger, birthday boy, from the incredible Universal Motorsport and Racing team, who's helping us out now with a potential drive for our top gamer and a test drive for them.
Yeah. And such a cool family as well. Just a really, really great guy, Jeff and his family. He's got a lot to do. Just having a look where he qualified for this heat. I'm looking at my, qualified in 8th position. So he's going to have to drive He's going to have to drive as well as he does in real life, this time on a console to get into that top 6.
Yeah, he battled a little bit in the qualifying in the top 100 shootout and the hot laps. I got to chat to him in between, of course, the racing as we set up that incredible prize that's been given by Universal Motorsport. So he was saying it's not as easy as it looks. And there certainly is a lot of preparation that's got to go into it. And when I say that, and I hear you chuckling in the background, the back and forth on the initial days of qualifying for the hot laps, there was so much banter between the drivers to try and get these cars set up, because you've actually got to go to the point that some of these drivers do and employ a race engineer to actually give you the physical correct setups for these cars on the circuit for these kind of conditions.
It is much more complicated than I think a lot of people who are just watching, myself, I've never played this Assetto game, but I'm sure it has so many different settings that you can go and manipulate in terms of your setup. It's not like the original games, Greg, where you used to just plug and play, turn it on, and whatever the setting was, that's how you went racing. This is much more advanced.
If you looked at the group earlier on, which I put out, and I don't know if you're on the race group. I think you're just on the management group there. But I put a picture up of the original Tommy racing game, the Tommy Toys racing game, which was of course a steering wheel, a little screen which had a red graphic on it of a race car, and a shifter alongside it. And basically that's where I learned to drive. So I put it up and guys are going, hang on a second, you're showing your age now.
Well, listen, then I won't even consider telling you about the first game that I ever played. So don't worry about that. We've got about a minute and a half before we get into our warm-up lap for this fourth heat. And our final heat, we've already had 3. We've got 18 drivers that have now qualified for tomorrow's Solidarity E-Race final. And then, of course, at the end of this, we're going to have a 5-lap shootout. 1 extra driver in the wild card will make our grid 25 for tomorrow night.
Well, I'm just looking down at those 24 cars. The one car that I do not see, which I was hoping and praying would be, is the man that we've kind of bigged up the entire way through this process, and that would have been 10th place qualifier, Jonathan Mokgotsi. He's just popped in. There you go. Sure. As I called it, he popped in. So Mokgotsi has made it through. Now, the reason I'm calling Mokgotsi out as opposed to anybody else on this track is you see them lining up. Jonathan Mokgotsi is a man who started in gaming and, of course, moved on to participating in various formats of actual motorsport out on tracks due to a program that's put in place by Volkswagen South Africa and Volkswagen Motorsport South Africa to ensure that drivers can get a chance to do what they want to do on a racetrack. He came from a PlayStation background, jumped into the driver search, won the driver search, won a drive in Volkswagen Polo Cup, and in his second season took his first victory in a National Championship Polo Cup race, and is now the official global touring car driver for Volkswagen Motorsport for the season as soon as it starts. So we're going to be having some fun and games here if Mokgotsi can get through, because he certainly knows what to do in a game as well as on this track particularly, as we're now 10 seconds out from the rolling start.
Yep, we got a rolling start. That is what your grid looks like. It is Elric Enslin, Morgan McCall. Then we've got Bashir Jadwat, Leslie Oliphant, Bruno Cadilje, Tajbon, Kieran Patterson, Christopher Langefeld, Jeff Kruger, Gregory Fury, Jonathan Mokgotsi, making it your top 10. Of course, it is a warm-up lap, and it is a rolling start. So Elric Enslin is the man who can dictate the pace around the circuit, and then, of course, making their way onto the start-finish grid.
You can see them all doing their own livery as well, which is awesome with this game. You can actually set up your own race car livery. So each of them getting a chance to do that through this last 6 days of the hot laps. Mark van Rensburg is 11th. Mark Steyn is 12. Nick Hodgson is 13. Michael van Rooyen with some work to do. He, of course, has podiumed at the official 9 hour, as opposed to what we're seeing here in the Intercontinental GT cars that raced in that 9 hour in November in 2019. So van Rooyen will be looking to come from 14th and make his way into at least the top 6. Hugo de Wit and Dylan Hall, Wayne Foss and George Veed. That's one of our, in fact, I think it's our only Superbike rider in 18th place. Gerard Caldenes, who's going to be looking to possibly get up a little bit higher than Antoine did earlier on. Nicholas Darras and Dierwold Swanepoel with Peter Greyling, Richard Clark, Richard Daly, and right at the back, number 99, Colin Hasty. Oh my goodness, watch out for 99 in turn 1.
You know what? Go for it, Colin. I know you worked so hard, and the fact that he made it in the top 100, I think is just wonderful. So chuffed for Colin. I really, really hope he has a good race. He's got a long way to go to get in the top 6, but I think he'll just be racing to have a lot of fun. That's for sure.
They're heading through the AFRI host S's at the moment and up towards Leeuwkop. So expect some big battles through that part of the circuit as they get into race action proper. You can see in the background there, or just behind in second place, and even in the mid-pack here, guys swooping from left to right. Now, on a normal racetrack, of course, it's important to try and get as much heat into the rubber as possible. It is as vitally important to do it in the virtual version of this game as well, because Pirelli rubber, that is, of course, the chosen tyre manufacturer for Intercontinental GT, gives these guys the same look and feel as what they have on a real racetrack. So even though you think to yourself, hang on a second, this is only a game. Really, do they have to sweep left and right to get heat in the rubber? Yes, they do. They actually have to do exactly what you would do in a normal race car here in the virtual world.
Yeah, I tell you, it is quite amazing. I seem to have a little bit of a problem with my camera at the moment, Greg, so I might just disappear for a couple of seconds, and then hopefully everything will return to normal.
No worries, buddy. As they come out of Cheetah, heading towards Ingwe now, side by side, front row is Alaric and Morgan. And I can tell you now, Morgan and Alaric are going to be fighting it to the limit here. Alaric Enslin going to be pushing it to as hard as he can in that Audi. He definitely wants to take a victory. He definitely wants to try and get a faster lap time than Zaire Issa to ensure that he gets the pole position tomorrow night. But Morgan McCall and Bashir Jadwat, Leslie Oliphant might just have their own plans. We have got Porsches and Audis all the way through the top 9. Lamborghini in 10th place with Machotzi at the wheel. Van Rensburg has gone with the Bentley. And then you see Steyn and Hodgson. Green lights, and we're racing. And a move right across almost instantaneously from Alaric Enslin. He cuts everybody off and heads down towards turn 1 on the outside, but it'll be the inside line for Crowthorne turn 2. The Porsche of Oliphant applying pressure and diving from the back of the field to second place possibly. He forces wide Morgan McCall. McCall tries to come back at him, but Oliphant is side by side as they come out of Yokske. Has he been able to squeeze through? Yes, he has. Great move there from Leslie Oliphant as he moves up and gets up into second place by the looks of things. So that's how it's changed up. McCall and moving through there. In fact, no, McCall just getting to the better there and finding a way past. But look how tight it is now. Oliphant and McCall chopping and changing as they go into Sunset Corner. Side by side behind that, you've got Kadile and Jadwat. And Bashir Jadwat trying to force that Porsche into mistake. Can't quite make it stick into Clubhouse. The Audi onto the back end of 3 Porsches. Make it 4 as they head up in towards turn number 5 and 6, the S's. And into 7 and 8 they go now. Absolutely brilliant stuff. The Porsches are the main machines in this one. There's no doubt about it. And you can see the Audis battling, but no worries at all for our lead Audi, Alaric Van Enselen, getting away. And a spinner, and a tag, and 2 touches coming out of the top of the hill. And it looks like Kadile is the man who got caught up there. So, yeah, Bonthia, the Bonnoit. It wasn't a Bonnoit for you at all there. And another tag from behind. Couple of cars getting in the mix there. The aerial material shows us all those cars that got into that tag. They're now down into the Crocodiles. And they've eventually sorted themselves out. But what a start to the semi-final number 4. They come through now into Cheetah. From Cheetah, running a little bit wide, putting a wheel onto the dirty stuff. You don't want to be doing that because that's what it'll do to you. It'll cost you drive. And 2 Audis spinning out. There's Porsches and Audis crashing. Big time out at 14. Ingwe Corner seen lots of action. Look at that. What a move. The 9 car of Kadile, the man who spun out at the top of the hill, has now been positioned right up into possibly second place as he comes across the line. And now oodles of ground ahead of him between the cars who got caught up in that action. So let's have a look and see how things sort themselves out. Enselen needs out. McCall is second. Oliphant is third at that point. But you can see things are changing as we go. Patterson up into 4th. Kadile is down into 5th place now with Farie moving up. And we see Van Rensburg in the Bentley close down on the back end there of Farie. So it looks like Gerald Farie might be in for a bit of a fight here with that big Bentley. Bashir Jadwat has dropped down to 8th place. He's one of the Audis that's spun out. Coming out at turn 14 in the corner. And then behind him it's the 5th. And then you can see Clark making up the top 10. Out of shape again is the 9 Porsche. Man, he is having a tough time out there. And it looks like Bruno Kadile is going to have to get himself back into a rhythm and sort himself out. Otherwise, he's going to lose out to a big time. Alaric Enslin, McCall, top 2 at this stage. Oliphant in 3rd place. Addison is 4th. Kadile is 5th. Farie, 6th place. As Van Rensburg starts to apply the pressure now as they get up with the shot at the top of the vehicle. Pressure. Bashir Jadwat looks like he's just been given a 5-second penalty there for the collision that he caused into turn 14 Ingwe Corner. So, yeah, having a look and see how that all changes at class 6 under the scrutiny of the COC and our stewards. And he's been deemed to be the protagonist in that action. He's now putting much bigger pressure than what he did earlier on onto the back end of that other Audi he's fighting with. But look at that. Oh, man. The dog shut any space in the big Bentley and doesn't line through. So Farie, Van Rensburg, Jadwat, all fighting hard here. That is 6th, 7th, and 8th place. The battle for the 6th place. Once again, he's here. The best action we're seeing all night has been for that 6th place battle. And it's because it is so vital to be into that top 6. Look at this. 240 km an hour before he climbed on the anchors. Great stuff there from Bashir Jadwat. Late braking on the back end of the Bentley. Can he find a way past? No, it looks like Van Rensburg is going to try and make that Bentley as wide as possible. Great move.
All right, Greg, I'm back. Sorry about that. I know how difficult it is doing it all on your own. I missed out. Jadwat moved up to 7th place. Why did he get the 5-second penalty?
He caused an accident down in turn 14. Unfortunately, Sash and a couple of cars got taken out by his antics. So he's got the 5-second penalty. He's still fighting there for 7th. He's not out of the race yet. Because remember, if he makes up that 5 seconds, and gets ahead of Van Rensburg and De Wit by the tune of 5 seconds, he could still hang on to a potential top 6 here. We definitely don't want to lose the Ghost Bash after telling him last night. You saw how excited he was and how awesome it is to be involved in this incredible little race.
Yeah, 100%. We're on board here with Leslie Oliphant, who's sitting in third place, and he's right behind McCall. Enslin looks to be very, very comfortable out in front. So those are the guys to watch out for. Jadwat got it all to do. He's a second behind Fourie, so we're going to have to watch him. Leslie Oliphant, there we go, pushing hard with that Porsche, one Porsche on another Porsche. Ooh, a little bit wide coming out of Ingwe corner. Going to go into the Ingwe, into the kink, and then of course flat out speed. Will he try and dive down the inside or maybe go on the outside? You've got two different lines that go in here. Great defensive driving there from McCall. Oliphant just staying right on his backside as we go into barbecue. This is such a wonderful corner as the guys get onto the power as hard and as quickly as possible. You want to make your way a little bit to the left-hand side of the track to right going into set. Nothing checking out what's progress is just half a second behind, but he's got
He's pushing it as hard as he can. I'm just going to check that this microphone's not working, Sash. Looks like I picked up a little bit of an issue there on my headset. So coming to you live now out of the microphone from the laptop in front of me. Bren, if you're happy with that, just let me know. So it looks like everything good to go here. And of course, Enslin now just pulling away to the tune of 2.5 seconds ahead of McCall. Morgan McCall hasn't had an answer there to Ulrich Enslin, and he's doing everything right. We may need to pick up on him a little bit later on just to see what his lap times are like. But the battle now for third place, Oliphant and Patterson having a great run at. Not staying a bit further back there. He's fighting for just outside of the top 10. He's down in 12th place and doing a super job there in the Audi. He's also starting to close down on Jonathan Mokgotsi, who's just ahead of him. Now remember, Mokgotsi is the only driver out of all of these semi-finals, I think, who have gone with the Lamborghini option. So that's a bit of a gamble that Jonathan has taken, and it's kept him out of the top 10 for now. I don't think he's going to be able to make up the ground to get into that top 6 hunt, but nice to see Mokgotsi flying the flag high there for Volkswagen Motorsport, and of course driving in one of their sister brands there, the Lamborghini.
Yeah, he is a good 5 seconds behind Jeff Kruger. Jeff Kruger right in the back of, there we go, we cross to the pictures, right in the back of De Wit. So he's got quite a bit to do is Jeff Kruger, but he's definitely got the ability and the acumen to do it. So let's watch him pretty carefully. I think just now we've got to see what Enslin's times are, because Oliphant is doing a 140.4. So Enslin wants to do 140.3 or better to get pole position for tomorrow night's race. He's got a 2.5 second gap over Morgan McCall. So good stuff. Jadwat is now up into 6th place. He's 1.2 seconds ahead of Van Rensburg. So he needs to make up 3.5 seconds in the next 8 minutes in order to hold that position and make sure that he qualifies for tomorrow night's final.
77 has just been given a drive-through penalty by the looks of things as well there, Jared Geldenhuys. So he's going to be falling right to the back too, unfortunately for the youngster coming out of Formula 1600 for a stop-go. But I was just saying, we're watching Jeff Kruger here in the Audi, and just behind him is, well, not just behind him, a little, about 5 seconds behind him is Jonathan Mokgotsi in the Lamborghini. I thought we were watching Solidarity E-Race, not the original Polo Cups that these guys fought in. Two protagonists and two championship rivals going at it for 9th and 10th.
Well, I tell you, if you just tuned in, you might have thought that these guys have up their ante quite a bit. Sure, bouncing over the curves there, Bashir Jadwat just driving, going crazy. He's lost 5.5 seconds to Cadilia, but he's still 1.1 seconds ahead of Van Rensburg. He's got a lot to do in the next 7 minutes, that's for sure, as Bashir Jadwat, but he's got that 5 second penalty. He needs to make up another 3.5 seconds over Van Rensburg.
Yeah, he's got the 6th place, which is important. Now, if he can just bridge the gap to the 5 second penalty that he's going to get incurred at the end, he might be able to still hang on to that 6th position and give Van Rensburg a bit of a run for his money. He's got clean air with him now. We're now following, of course, Leslie Oliphant a bit further back there. He's currently lapping in the 140.9s, his best lap time, and of course his current lap time is the 141 dead. So not a bad lap time coming out of the Porsche. Off on the sideline there, one of the cars. Looks like we had a bit of an issue there. Green flags, though, into the AfriHost S's. And we continue here with Leslie Oliphant It's kind of like a sort of a light blue coloured Porsche he's gone with as they get to the top of the hill, like a sky blue. And behind him is Patterson. So Patterson, as I said, coming out of nowhere there, Kieran Patterson, he qualified in 6th place. He's remained in the top 4 literally almost from the start. Bruno, your good Portuguese friend there, Cadile, has been incredible to stay in the 5th place after his first bit of incidents that happened at the top of the hill at Leeuwkop. So he's been very lucky to stay there. The car is still stricken on the outside there. I'm not quite sure if that's Veed. I think it possibly is. George Veed might be on the sideline and parked out of this one. And I said it was one of the only two-wheel action guys that are involved in there. We had a chat with Rob Portman from Right Pass magazine earlier on and mentioned that both Martin and George Veed were entered into this competition. They were the only two-wheelers and motorbike riders who entered. But it was great to have them on, and just a pity to lose him there on the sideline down in 22nd.
Yeah, we're on board with Wayne Foss, who is holding off. Or is holding off Clark at the moment in 14th position. He's about 3 seconds down the road from Mokotsi. Mokotsi's dropped back another position, unfortunately, to 13. So struggling a little bit. Going back, having a look, we've had a problem with Bashir Jadwat. He's dropped down to 9th place. So something definitely happened to him.
Yeah, I can tell you what's happening there with him. He's probably overdriving now, trying to get that rhythm back, and is making silly and uncalculated, unusual mistakes for a man of his caliber. There you go. There's a prime example. Running wide out of barbecue corner is not something we saw Bashir Jadwat doing in the hot laps. He was pinpoint perfect and put the car literally into every corner perfectly. So I think it's basically just the big match temperament that might be catching him out here.
Yeah, very much so. The guy to watch is Jeff Kruger. He's got, this is Van Rensburg, who's now in 6th position, and 4 seconds down the road from him is Jeffrey Kruger. So Jeff Kruger's got quite a bit to do in the next 4 minutes. He's got to catch up 3 seconds if he wants to get into that final for tomorrow evening. But listen, it seems to be easily sailing for Ensslin at the front.
Hopefully Jeff Kruger will have a little bit of birthday luck there and get himself into that top 6. We certainly be hoping for that. So as we go back a bit further back in the field there to, I think that is the number 9, Peter Kralin. So a nice bit of driving here from Peter Kralin. A nice livery on that car as well, completely different to what you'd normally see on an Audi. I suppose every man for himself as he heads down through Leeuwkop and down the second fastest part of the circuit. Dierwald Swanepoel as well.
Going right off the track there.
Yeah. I think they might be teammates if you look at the livery on those two cars. Bit with similar colour options. But of course, the two of them finished up out of 22nd, Stash, which was 89th and 90th in the top 100. So they are pretty evenly matched, those two cars.
Yeah, very much so. Only 22 runners out of our 25 that started in this heat. We've got 3.5 minutes to go of this final semi-final dash that we got at the moment. We're at Bruno Cadile, who is sitting in 5th position right on the back of Patterson. He'll definitely try and get right up there. He's also a very impressive timer, 1:40.7. So this heat definitely, in my opinion, the fastest out of the 4 we've had so far.
Yeah, they put the pressure onto each other, and they're starting to soak up that pressure or apply it to the man or competitor behind them or in front of them. Cadile now pushing it to the limit in the Starco Esports car. The Porsche of his trying to close down there on Patterson. Patterson not too far up the road. And Patterson running, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll stand to be corrected, but the Porsche that he's running in and the livery that he's running in is the same livery that actually took the victory at the Kyle Army 9 hour. And I could be mistaken on that one, but I think I might be right on it. I'm not quite sure what the team name of that particular team was, of course, but that's definitely the livery that was on top of the podium. So with 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go, they crossed the line, Cadile and Patterson, with Van Rensburg just a little bit further back on them. But it is Ensslin, McCall, Olifant, Patterson, Cadile, and Van Rensburg who are in the pound seats right now. Is there any chance Jeff Kruger can find a way to close down on that big Bentley ahead of him? He is now 3.8 seconds adrift with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, no headway, unfortunately. We're looking at Bashir, who seems to have found his rhythm again. He's going to try and get up there, but he's not going to make the top 6, unfortunately. The guy to watch here, I got to say, is Morgan McCall. He's only 1.7 seconds behind Alaric Ensslin, and he's really been pushing extremely hard. Not too sure if Enslin's just maybe taking it easy with only a minute and a half to go. Here's Bashir Jadwat and pushing hard on the Aston as they go into sunset. Let's see if his experience and his virtual reality headset gets him past a bit. Oh, he's going to go. A little break, late in the brakes.
He's pushing it to the limit there, trying to find a way past on David, but I think David might just have him marked and sorted. Looking through that back as well, Steyn and Darius, and then Mahotzi's down into 12th, so he's lost a lot of ground. It's a big pity to lose him, though. But the battle continuing here between Jadwat. He's got to try and find a way through. Can he do it now on the brakes up into Leokup? No. The Aston says no. Oh, no, he runs wide. That might just open up the door. David might lose out here on the second fastest part of the circuit, down that Pure Storage mine shaft. As they come through there, they are side by side through the street. That is some big cojones to hang on side by side. But there, eventually, the bit pulls out, and Jadwat forces his way past. Aggressive driving coming from Jadwat, but it paid off in the end.
Yeah, and some brilliant driving from both of them. They could have both taken each other out. Some great driving. A guy you've got to say who's done an incredible job is Nicholas Darris. Started in 20th position and is all the way up there in 11th. So superb drive from Nicholas Darris. Has done a really good job in that beautiful liveryed Audi as well. So looks very much like the Van der Linde car from the 9 hour.
Correct. Yeah, it's got the zebra stripes that the Van der Linde car had. Exactly that. So he's gone with a bit of a South African feel to it. Sash. Spot on and good eyes there as he heads down to Crowthorne Corner. We go back to Bruno Kodile, who has not quite caught onto the back end of Patterson and has not caught Olifant. So we've literally got an Audi out front, which I don't think anybody's going to catch. With he's on his last lap, and Olifant, Patterson, and Padilla are going to make it 4 Porsches in the top. Van Rensburg, I think, is going to have enough here just to keep out Jeff Kruger. Kruger's going to be a little bit disappointed he didn't make the top 6, but what a drive here from this young man. Look at that, 1:40.049 his last lap. Unfortunately, his best lap though is only, as I get a little information coming over my screen quickly, 1:40.6 there, Sash. That might only be good enough for the second row, right?
Yeah, very much so. I expected him to be a little bit quicker. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what Morgan McCall's lap time is, because he's only 1.3 seconds off the pace at present. But a great victory. Well done to Alaric Ensslin. Wins the race. A superb drive from him. Morgan McCall in second. Olifant, Patterson, Kadile, and Van Rensburg. Those are our top 6 drivers that'll make it through to the final. Judgment eventually made it up to 8th, but still incurs a 5-second penalty.
Fantastic driving there as well from everybody. Nice to see the mix-up with Porsches coming through there again, but also great to see a little Aston Martin Bentley, I should say, getting up there too. A bit of action at the back end, with still Mahotzi to come through by the looks of things. Jonathan Mahotzi still coming to the line. He's going to go right through all the smoke and fireworks and finish up things as high up as he wanted. So top-class stuff and top-class action coming out of these drivers. Ensslin from McCall, 3rd place, going there to Leslie Olifant. Patterson comes through for the 4th place. Kieran Patterson for 4th place. 5th place to Bruno Kadile. And eventually in the 6th spot is Mark van Rensburg in the Bentley. So well done to Mark van Rensburg to get that Bentley. I think it's the only British car who's made it into the top 6 so far.
Yeah, I think, there on the closing down lap there, Hasty just backing everyone.
Somebody to take out, eh?
Listen, he started 20. He started 25th, he finished 18th. He'll be very happy with that. And 3 seconds off the pace, but I'm sure he'll be pretty happy with the way that things have gone.
Top 6 is Ensslin from McCall, Patterson.
Oh, wow. There we go. Interesting information. Morgan McCall was faster. Even though he finished behind him on the track, he was faster in terms of his lap ahead of Alaric Ensslin. So Morgan McCall could well be, if I try and remember over the 4 heats, could well be in about, could start in 2nd position tomorrow night. So we're in for a cracking play. Wow.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Just to run through that top 6. Alaric Ensslin ahead of Morgan McCall. McCall quickest, as we just said now. So brilliant stuff from him. Leslie Olifant in 3rd place. 4th place to Kieran Patterson. Bruno Kadile there in 5th and beating out Mark van Rensburg for the top 6 in semi-final number 4. Now, race action is not done yet. we do have an invitational race. I'm not quite sure how many cars are coming into this invitational race, but we'll soon see what that's going to be. There's a 5-minute qualifying and then a 5-minute sprint race to dictate who is going to be the 25th driver for tomorrow night's 2 final races and the wild card. So I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to come and jump into that one. I wonder if there's going to be a couple of the sort of Jeff Krugers, Michael van Rooyen's, possibly even the guys who had issues earlier on. Remember, we lost Luke Lachesi. We lost the possibility of seeing Jason Absmeyer with a problem on his steering wheel. Absmeyer could be a big factor there. Chris Shorter, hopefully he'll get back in time and hopefully put in a time that'll get him to the front end and hopefully also put him into that wildcard position.
Yeah, listen, it's one of those things. I mean, also, thanks so much for the comments that are coming through. I can't, I've only got 2 eyes and I've got all these different screens over here. But Tiago dos Santos Serra say, what can I say? This is so cool. You're right, Tiago. We also think it's so cool as well. It's just been terrific. And got to say to Brendan, our director, who's putting it all together and pushing all the buttons there, superb job, Brendan. Thank you very much for your effort as well.
Yeah, the EFX team are superb. There's no doubt about it. But I just got a comment coming through on the E-Race WhatsApp group with amongst all the drivers. They're saying, can we enter the wild card? I think you have to be chosen. Cool. See you now. And then eventually the marksman, Neil Marks, who we chatted to in the early stages of this competition, said, why don't we just make it 100-car grid?
Yeah, we can have the 100th car can stop at the top of Leerkop, and then they can start that way. I'm just getting jealous, Greg, because I see you with a cup of coffee, so I'm just making myself a cup of coffee. Don't worry about the noise in the background. Oh, these are the guys.
Okay, so it looks like there's only 10 cars that have jumped into the session, but it is an invitational. I think it's an open invitation. Absmeyer's in there. Luceshi's in there. That's very important, those two. Jordan Sherritt's in there as well. He also has issues. Krobler, of course, got penalised in his heat. Werner Jabeur got penalised in his heat, so he's back in it. Looks like Avis is coming as well, so a good drive there from him. Hopefully looking for a chance to get up into there. And, of course, it's not the top 6 now. He has to win. You've got to win this race if you want to get into the wild card position and 25th tomorrow on the grid.
Well, there we go. We've got 10 entries so far. I don't know if we'll get any more, but I mean, that is a pretty impressive lineup, considering the guys who did have issues in some of the other heats. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. Whoa, who is that? Johnny Jan Krobler. Maybe he's got some friends there in the crowd.
Krobler getting out of shape. That's my favorite part of this. If you're watching it from the outside, ladies and gents, if you do make a mistake and you see what Johan Krobler just did there, it's literally a push of the button on your console, and boom, you are reloaded back into pit lane with no damage to your car. That's every racer's dream there.
Exactly. Yeah, and you don't have to replace any panels at any cost as well. The car looks so impressive. Car number 90, Jason Absmeyer, who had issues earlier, and he's definitely somebody that we did expect to be in the top. He's just done a 141.1, so goes fast as he's 0.3 ahead of Jordan Sherritt. So this is a qualifying session, and then this will determine. We've got 9 cars now, and this will determine how they start on the grid.
Werner, M&M Jabeur from, of course, one of our prize sponsors, TGN Racing Simulators. He's in this one as well as he heads down towards turn 1 and 2 through the kink and towards Crowthorne. Hopefully going to be in with a chance of making the top end of this race by the time the 5 minutes is up. We've got a minute and a half of qualifying and practice to go. Because the qualifying is not really a qualifying session, it's just a pre-practice session here for these guys, just to get their eye back in and ready to go for this next 5 minutes of action coming away shortly.
Well, I mean, these times that they are posting now is going to determine the grid. So Absmeyer and Sherritt looking very, very strong. The Lucchesi as well. So sure, all to play for and only 5 laps to do it in. So that's going to be very, very tight. Avis and De Wet haven't set times as yet. They have a minute of this free practice to get themselves onto the grid.
And I think there's only about 50 seconds for anybody else to come and jump in. So if Michael van Rooyen and Jeff Kruger are still available, they may still have a chance to jump in here and still have a go to take the win. It's going to be a tough to beat Jason Absmeyer or Jordan Sherritt, looking at the way that they've come into this wild card shootout. Remember, it's not the top 6 we're looking at now. It's only first place. First place or nothing.
Yeah, this is what it's all about. This, I'm looking forward to turn 1. That's all I can say. I think it's going to be brilliant.
Nice, Jason Martinengo. You are like every other South African motorsport fan, or any motorsport fan in the world. All you come to see is the carnage that could potentially happen.
Oh, no. That's definitely That's definitely not me.
I know you do a Woman Crush Wednesday every Wednesday.
Yeah, but it's definitely. I just sit there and say, who's going to have the biggest kahunas going into turn 1? That's what I'm looking for.
Exactly that. Watch this. Quick reload. Bang. Straight back into pit lane, and we're all sorted. So Werner Jaubert now waiting to go. He's doing a little adjustment to the car there. That's why the car's turned from an angle to parallel to the pit box. Absmeyer, though, was quickest in this free practice session with 1.5 minutes to go. I don't know if we're going to have anybody else out there. We got 6 cars in there, so there's 4 cars on track. Checkered flag for Luchesi, for Mitchell, for Jaubert. So it looks like we're almost good to go here and go straight into a wild card shootout.
There we go. Wyatt Avis on track at the moment, trying to put a time in. He's currently in 9th position, even though he hasn't set a time, but it would have been determined of when he got out of the track. So he's going to have to set a time now because he's only got a minute left before we start. Oh, okay. We're just getting some confirmation. This is a free practice session, so my apologies for that. Then we have a 5-lap qualifying race, and then a 5-lap sprint as well. So there we go.
A couple other guys jumping in as well. Kruger just jumped in to make it 11 cars now. That, of course, is not Jeff Kruger. It's the other Kruger. I think it's Blake Kruger, who's just jumped in the Lamborghini.
Okay, so these have been invited to take part in this final 5-lap qualifying session. Hey, I'm going to wave and say hello to my son. My son has just joined watching from the UK. So nice to have him along. He should have been entering into this competition. He's got all of the toys. So maybe he'll do it the next time. So this is a 5-lap or it's a 7-minute qualifying session. Minutes, all of the guys go out there wherever they qualify and whatever time that they post, that will determine where they start on the grid for this 5-lap winner takes all shootout.
Yeah, so we'll take you through the qualifying session here first, and then of course get an opportunity to show how it goes and how it all works for the 5-lap sprint race. There was a call to, of course, try and get Jeff Kruger and Michael van Rooyen in, but unfortunately, I think they were just too late. It did kind of hinder the semi-final 4 drivers from getting an opportunity because they literally come off the race and have to then reset everything and get back in. But needless to say, the organizer's decision is final. It was an invitation as it was stated. So the invitation has been sent out to these 11 drivers. They are now going to qualify for the 6.5 minutes or so, and then we'll get a 5-minute race to go.
Yeah, it's coming down to it, and it's amazing, Greg. You know, when you sit and think, you know, we had 100 qualifiers, we've now got 24 drivers that make it through to the final. This is the joy and the hardship of motor racing. Sometimes you're just not fast enough. You just don't make it. It means you have to go out there and try it again. It's like real life as well.
100%. So if we look at the guys who've already gone through so far, according to what I've got, Charles Wilkin, Devin Leisha, Dewald Brummer, Mark Henbury, Hilton Peters, and Vanna Hinop from semi-final 1. Semi-final 2 sees Rob Whiting, Mark Antel, Lorenzo Gauteri, Daniel Skuman, Leon van Wyk, and Wesley Ferrant will make it through there. It's here Essa, Quade Claastens, Julian Familiaris, Lane Hutchins, and Jared Van Bergen, who went through from semi-final 3. Ulrich Ensslin, Morgan McCall, Leslie Oliphant, Bruno Cardile, Kieran Patterson, and Art van Rensburg. Those are your top 24. 11 cars on track right now. Could be the 25th driver for tomorrow night's 2 finals in the grand finale.
Yeah, we've got 2 Porsches, 1 Lamborghini, 1 Honda, and the rest are Audis. So, who's going to make it? We don't have a Japanese manufacturer in our top 24. So let's see if they can upset the apple cart. But you got to believe guys like Sherritt, Absmeyer, Lucchesi are, in my opinion, those are the 3 that are definitely the ones to watch.
Yeah, I think those are definitely going to be the ones to keep an eye on. Sash, you're spot on, and watching how things go. It looks like I'm getting some comments coming from the sideline from the Lotus Register. Of course, Jeff Kruger is a 4-time back-to-back national Lotus champion. So they were all saying, "Oh, why is Jeff not in it? Was he too late?" I said, "Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like he was." And of course, he didn't quite crack the invitation for the entrance here for the wild card. I'm sure that the boys over at Toyota Gazoo Racing, who have been watching Michael van Rooyen and hoping and praying he could try and squeeze through into the top 6, could possibly have got into this final 2. Looks like Martin Veed is out there too. It's great to have him getting an opportunity. We saw his brother fighting it out earlier on. And of course, those are the 2 boys that come from a 2-wheel background. So we've got some superbike riders in the house. He's gone with the 102, which means, of course, he was the second of our drivers on standby to bump up into the top 100. And, of course, when a couple of guys have pulled out, as we saw with Chris Shorter and the likes, it gives him a chance now to possibly spoil the day here for a couple of the drivers at the front end. I don't expect to see Veed there. He's pretty good on a 600cc and an 1000cc motorcycle, but I don't know if that Audi is going to be too much for him to handle, as we're watching Byron Mitchell, one of our single-seater drivers, coming from Cape Town, making his way out of Leeuwkop and down the mineshaft.
Yep, and we've only got 3 minutes left of the session. We've got 12 competitors now that'll take part in our 5-lap shootout. Currently, Lucchesi the fastest, so 1:41.1. Times are a little bit slow, Greg, compared to maybe what we expected. You're looking at maybe the 140.6s, 140.7s is where I believe you think you need to be.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You've got to be into those 140s to be on the front 10, that's for sure. Lap times at this stage, 41.1, 41.7, 42.1, 42.9, 44.9. Those are certainly not going to be good enough. Right now, it looks like the battle is going to be between Lucchesi, Krobler, Mitchell, and probably Absmeyer. Absmeyer is not out there at the moment, but Absmeyer certainly will be a man to watch out for if he's able to get everything sorted out, unfortunately, with that issue earlier on.
Yeah, as you can see the splits as well. Lucchesi definitely on it in his Audi R8. We've still got 2 minutes left, which means that strongly if you get through the timing beacon now, you'll be able to get 2 laps in. So Absmeyer goes top all of a sudden. There we go. You called it right, Greg, in the Porsche, and he's at 3/10 or 2.5 tenths ahead of Lucchesi. So the cream definitely rising to the top. Got to watch out for Jordan Sherritt. He hasn't posted a time yet as well. He's a guy we should be expecting up in the top 3 or 4 as well.
Sherritt was really pushing hard in his initial heat and was certainly a man to keep an eye on. So I think Jordan Sherritt, as we pick up on him coming down the mineshaft now, he'll be looking to try and get up at least into the second row, if not onto the front row with Absmeyer or Lucchesi. And Krobler is probably his target. So let's have a look and see as he comes out of the crocodiles now, if he's able to improve on what is down in 9th place at the moment. But this, of course, is his first hot lap. His last one was a 1:44.8. That was just his out lap. He'll be looking to at least get into the 140s or at least a low 141 to ensure he's on those front 2 rows.
Yeah, here we go. Jordan Sherritt going to cross over the line. His last lap was a 140.9. So right up there. Lucchesi goes quick as now with the 140.8 as well. This is what qualifying is about. I love this stuff.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, Ash. The kind of pressure that comes out, of course, comes from being involved in circuit racing for a long, long time. Jordan Sherritt, a multiple karting champion in his own right down in KwaZulu-Natal. He actually spends a huge amount of time. He's got a racing stable down at the kart circuit in KwaZulu-Natal, known as Idubi. So he's had plenty of time at that track and has taken on some of SA's finest karters, and some of even ex and former world karting champions have been vetted and beaten by Jordan Sherritt at his home track on numerous occasions. So watch out for him. He's into third place overall, behind Absmeier and Lucchesi, but you put the pressure onto them.
Look at that, Greg. The top three are split by 700ths of a second. So there is nothing between Lucchesi, Absmeier, and Sherritt. Those are the three that we said watch out for. It's a winner-take-all race. Sure, this is going to be very, very tough for them. I see Jeff Kruger's just arrived. Is it Jeff Kruger?
It is. Jeff Kruger's
place. Yes.
If he's got there in time, though, I don't think he's set a time, so I'm not quite sure if he's been able to give that to... or been able to get on there in time. We'll wait and see. Very good possibility.
Okay, it's on track at present. There's still 1 minute 18 before the end of the session, so he's going to have to put in something pretty wild from Jeff Kruger. His last lap was a 2:19, so that was an outlap. So let's see what Jeff Kruger can do. Can he get himself in the mix? Those top three, 700ths of a second between them, and then a half-second gap to Mitchell in fourth place. We're on board with Jeff Kruger, one of our wild card entries in our wild card 5-lap shootout to see who becomes the 25th entrant for the race tomorrow evening. Man, this has been so exciting this whole evening. I actually can't wait for the finals now.
I think a lot of people are in the same boat. I think there's if he hasn't set a lap, so I don't know if he's going to be able to make it there. No, he's out. Or maybe they're going to put him into 14th place. Let's wait and see as we now get into the start procedure. And there you can see both Sash and I waiting on the edges of our seat. Final race of the night there, Martinengo. I think we're going to be in for a big one here. Just a reminder to everybody, the top, the winners of each of the semi-finals are going to be given, of course, 500 Rand, courtesy of AfriHost, for all the efforts that they put in for tonight. We'll get them up to you straight after this heat is done. And, of course, we'll then get to see who the 25th and final driver is to make it into tomorrow night's two final races. It's a 10-minute sprint race tomorrow, and then straight into a 20-minute mini enduro. So even longer and more time out on track for these guys to go to battle. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 cars on the track. So Jeff Kruger is in there. He's at the back, and he's going to have to work hard from the back there. You can see him just at the back right-hand side under the Data Sciences Corporation banner there, and he'll be pushing to try and get to the front as soon as possible.
Yep, there we go. It's the warm-up lap. It is an 8-minute, roughly about 5 laps. Absmeier on pole position, Lucchesi, Sherritt. These three are going to be hammer and tongs against each other. Nothing between them in that qualifying race. You just cannot afford to make a mistake in this level of competition. I must say, Greg, overall, the standard of driving has been exceptional from all of these drivers. It really, really has been impressive.
Yeah, they've behaved really nicely, and I think hardly any work to be done there by our COC and steward, Jason Holden Jones. He's, of course, one of the top gamers in this country, and spends a lot of time doing what you and I normally do in the commentary booth for the normal format that they put together. Him and all the gaming world have been set alight by what we've done here over the last 10 days, and I think there's been a lot of interaction via all forms of social media in general. I mean, if you take into account, just as a matter of interest, Sash, where in the world have you seen South African motorsport by certain Sunday newspapers? And for the likes of the Sunday Times and the Sunday Tribune to give an article about online racing and the Solidarity E-Race shows you that we've certainly created a massive buzz amongst everybody in the motoring industry.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see, and I'm so glad, and I hope a lot more of our print journalists and online journalists start embracing the South African motorsport scene again, and let's create that buzz again, even if it has to start here from gaming. Let's make sure that when the circuits do all open, we do get people excited again.
And a reminder to everybody that what we're doing here this evening and tomorrow night, and what we've done for the last 6 days with the hot laps, is all for a very, very good cause. The Solidarity Fund is what we're raising funds for here. 50% of all the funds raised on this competition have been put directly into that Solidarity Fund to help people in need here during the tough times that coronavirus has brought to South Africa. And it just shows you, and I say it every single time, with the amount of times that I've done fundraising or done events or done 24-hour superbike races or whatever, the motorsport industry is such a great bunch of people, and they are always willing to get behind initiatives of that nature.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see, and let's also just hope, Greg, that it also sort of picks up the appetite of a whole lot of other motorsport people who are involved in the game, that they get involved with this as well.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we're coming out of Cheetahs now. You can see them forming up side by side on their respective rows of the grid. It's Absma and Luseshi that are in the front there, or Luseki. I'm not quite sure you say that one. Sash, you jump in there, but Lucchesi, there we go. Lucchesi, Sherritt and Mitchell, Krobler and Jabert, Ecote and Kruger, Isherwood and Wiblin, Avis, Martin Veed, and right at the back, keep an eye out on Jeff Kruger. I've seen Jeff Kruger come from the back of the grid to win races in the past in Polo Cup. Let's see if he's able to do it now in the final race of the night for the Solidarity E-Race. It is the wild card heat. Green flag, and we're racing. What a move. Look at that. Jordan Sherritt pulling out right from the word go, trying to find a way through. And he goes alongside Mitchell, also going around the outside, looking for a way to get on the inside line, possibly, as they get down into Coastal. There's a touch. The two Audis have come together. And fortunately, I think Absmeyer might have got through there and just hung on to the lead. Is it the grey Porsche out front? It is. Absmeyer leads as they go through into Yuxka and up towards Barbecue. On his tail is the 5-5 of Jordan Sherritt. And Sherritt just forcing his way and pushing through on Lucchesi. Lucchesi down, I think, into second by the looks of things now. Has he got through back on Sherritt? No. Sherritt's ahead of it. Lucchesi has dropped down to fourth place, and Mitchell is in third.
Yeah, I tell you, I don't think he'll be too happy in his helmet at the moment with that move. But it seemed just hard. It didn't seem a problem. And Lucchesi under all sorts of attack here from Krobler as they go into the S's. He manages to hold it, goes really, really wide. Krobler nearly loses it with Earcoat coming through to him as well. This is a really, really tough. We had a yellow flag there for a second. Look at this Porsche of Krobler coming up on the outside, going into Leerkop, and he opens the door for Earcoat. So coming on the run down to through the mine shaft. Oh, look at them bashing doors and windows and side mirrors together. It is a winner takes all. You've got to go for it.
Yeah, there's no holes barred now, and for the next 6.5 minutes, we got to go at it for 5 laps of action here as they come down into Cheetah Corner, heading down towards the final turn of this first lap. Absmeyer from Sherritt, Mitchell in third place. Lucchesi is the man who lost out there big time. The battle for fifth place is Krobler. He's got Ecote all over the back of him there in the fourth of the Audis on our circuit. Veed is up into seventh, the motorcycle rider just ahead, and Kruger, incredibly, is already up into eighth place, and only 0.8 of a second off the back end of Martin Veed.
Yeah, superb start there from Jeff Kruger, and I tell you, Sherritt, Mitchell, and Absmeyer, nothing between the three of them. This is going to go down to the wire with only just under 6 minutes to go. Lucchesi will be kicking himself with the move, and I said, watch out for turn one, and that was what happened.
Yeah, you're spot on there, but there was a lot of action down into turn one, and of course, it continues now as they head out of turn 4 and 5. Brilliant stuff out of Sunset. Jordan Sherritt trying to keep it all together there, and he doesn't want to make any mistakes, but he does have to take the attack and go on the attack to Jason Absmeyer. Absmeyer pulling away to the tune of a second after lap number 1 was completed. Jordan Sherritt is losing ground, so Sherritt has to go and fight as hard as he can. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Sherritt there into second, and of course, Byron Mitchell, where he's found the space from. I wish he had it earlier on, because he then wouldn't have to fight as hard as what he's having to fight now. We know that Lucchesi had some problems, so he's going to have to work a little bit harder than what he is right now. I think he's not going to have enough time here to close down on those front three unless something goes wrong.
Yeah, Lucchesi having a look down the inside of Mitchell, made up a lot of time coming out of Leerkop. Jeff Kruger seems to have made a bit of a mistake, lost quite a bit of time, and Veed right on the back of him. We're on board with Craig Earcote, and he's right behind Krobler, so pushing pretty hard. Lucchesi pushing Mitchell very hard. Absmeyer a second ahead of Jordan Sherritt. Sherritt going to have to up the ante with Masobi only about 3 laps to go to end this 5-lap shootout.
Yeah, about 3 laps to go there, Sash, spot on. Let's see if they can keep it all together now as they head down into Crowthorne Corner. A bit further back there, Ecote still fighting there with Jeff Kruger, who's just ahead of him, and just behind him, I should say. Kruger now trying to close down on the back end of Ecote. Casey, though, has found a way to close down on Mitchell. Look at that. We're on board with him now as they head to have a look and see if he lifts off through here. Or a little comfort lift and then back onto the hard pedal. Try and close the gap even more on Byron Mitchell, the man from Cape Town. Usually in a single-seater, but now in that Audi, a similar machine to what the man behind him is in. And this onboard shot just shows you how tight it gets and how hard these drivers have to work. It's working probably as hard, if not harder, looking at the technology that's available here to these drivers that you would in a normal race car.
Yeah, Luke Lucchesi, I tell you, he had to get hard on the brakes going into the S's. Now they're getting into Leeuwkop at the top of the hill, the highest part of the Kyalami circuit. This is going to be a proper drag race down as they make their way into the Crocodiles. I've got a feeling that Lucchesi is going to try and dive down the inside. Oh, he has a look, gets blocked up. No, is he going to go for it? No, he backs out of it. No, he's got him. And it's going to be a straight race coming through the Cheetah. A little bit of bumping and bashing, but Lucchesi does get through. And he goes wide as well as they're coming to Ingwe. Now it's going to be a long drag race all the way down to Crowthorne.
Yeah, well, I can see there was a bit of maneuvering happening there, a little bit of argy-bargy rubbings racing between Lucchesi and Mitchell. Mitchell now trying to come and return the favour. That is right in the slipstream. You can't get closer to the back end of that R8 than what we saw Byron Mitchell doing. He pulls out, tries to take a little wide and late apex coming into Crowthorne. He's a good drive forward. Fantastic hard, and if they're not careful, he's right behind them. Cobra is coming along.
Yeah, I tell you, some great driving from both of these drivers, but Absmeyer, you've got to stay looking very comfortable. He's got a 2-second lead over Jordan Sherritt, and it is only one driver that goes through. So these guys are just now racing, I think, just for pride. So Lucchesi, can you do anything about Jordan Sherritt in front of him? Jeff Kruger's up into 6th position, started right at the back of the grid. So great drive from it. Oh, look at that! Lucchesi's been bumped out by Mitchell.
Return of the favour, as I said, Stash. Have a look at that. He just went straight into the back end of him and then just kept the foot buried and drove almost through the front door there of Lucchesi. So, I think that was Byron Mitchell saying, listen, you gave me a little nudge coming out of Cheetah. Here's the return of the favour. Those two could be in a bit of trouble.
I think so. 1 minute 40.6 from Jason Absmeyer at the moment, so that's not a bad time as well. He's got another lap that he'll be able to even do a quicker lap. He's going to have to try and get into the 140.4, 140.3, which might give him pole position, and considering he's a wild card. So let's see what this lap is, a 140.6 again. So very consistent from Absmeyer.
Absmeyer, I think, is going to keep it all together here. I don't think there's going to be any problems whatsoever. He is on to the possibility of his last lap. You can see just how smooth and calculated the White Rabbit Esports man is as he heads up into barbecue. Nice 124, 128k an hour exit speed there now. Climbs on the loud pedal. 180, 190, 210, little lift, and then through Sunset. 210 to Sunset. That's some great driving. Runs a little bit wide, perfectly touching the curbs there. He must have been taught how to drive this car by Clint Weston, because that's kind of Western lines he's taking through there from the AMP Driving Academy, even though he's decided to run with the Porsche for this one.
Yeah, I tell you, it's a very clinical drive from Jason Absmeyer at the front. Mitchell driving for pride here, right in the back of Grobler. 140.6 from Absmeyer. I'm probably going to put him 4th or 5th on the official grid for the final tomorrow evening as we get into, this is the final lap of this race. And he's definitely the man to get through to that 25 driver shootout tomorrow night in the Solidarity E-Race finale.
What a drive here from Jason Absmeyer. What a return from him as well. From zero to hero he's gone here, and he's given himself an opportunity to still be in the mix for a top 3 finish tomorrow night at the end of our grand finale. Checkered flag about to come out for him. He's going to take the victory with lights ablaze. It's Absmeyer from Sherritt. A 140 on that last lap. That is a great last lap there from Absmeyer. That could potentially shake up a little bit in the overall grid position for tomorrow night. You see guys just stopping in the middle of the circuit as well.
I think it's going to put him on the front row, Greg.
That was in the background, Jeff Kruger. Kruger just
I
went to
think
take evasive action on the car and stopped in the middle of the track and hit the wall big time.
I think as far as time is going to put him on the front row tomorrow. I don't know if it's pole, but I think he's going to be on the front row.
Yeah, amazing stuff. But just to run through a few things as well, I think Brendan's been sent our official slide that'll come up just after the results panel here. You can see some guys having some fun in the background too. Absmire taking the win. He, of course, will take the wild card spot for tomorrow night's grand finale. Remember to come and join us for that grand finale at about 6:30, going into a bit of interviews, the qualifying session that gets the drivers back up and into warm-up positions, and then, of course, into a 10-minute sprint race and a 20-minute mini enduro, which will be part and parcel of the grand finale. So there you have Absmire as the winner. We don't need to worry anything about the back end, of course, because unfortunately they don't count. But Shirt got second, Grobler third, and a great drive there from them. 141.1, I think that was earlier on in the free practice session. But we're just waiting for that slide to come up as well, because we do also have to announce the semi-final winners from tonight's competition, because each of them will be getting from AfriHost an incredible $500. So well done to Charles Wilkin. I think it's Shaw, but Charles Wilkin, he'll be happy with that. For $500, he can make a mistake on my name anytime. Rob Whiting, Zahir Esther, and Alaric Enslin taking the heat wins in semi-final 1, 2, 3, and 4, respectively, in the first bit of live action from the Solidarity E-Race here tonight. And Sasha Martinengo, I think we motored you, brother.
I tell you, that was so much fun, Greg. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually cannot wait for tomorrow night. You don't ever wish days away, even though in lockdown, you know, you say, can this please hurry up? I cannot wait for tomorrow night's racing. I think it's going to be amazing.
Well, I think everybody out there that joined us on all the various platforms via YouTube, YouTube and the E-Racing YouTube channel, via E-Racing's Facebook page, the Solidarity E-Racing Facebook page. I think we went out on your page, on Greg Maloney, the voice of choice as well. So F1 Sasha, voice of choice, ILEB. It also went out on Universal Motorsport. So a massive thanks to everybody for sharing it. Please go at home, tell all your friends about us, like and share these posts so that we can create a lot of hype on social media and on all media platforms so that we can keep doing this. Otherwise, the sponsors aren't going to be coming back. And a massive thanks to AfriHost, Data Science Corporation, Pure Storage, and NEC Global for all of their support for this event. And, of course, to all our associate sponsors who come on board to help us out with some of the prizes that we're going to be giving to these drivers. Well earned after tonight's action, and certainly well earned after tomorrow night's action, that is going to be probably even better than what we saw tonight.
Yeah, it's just been wonderful, and thanks for all of the comments. So many people here posting comments. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, Greg. It's been terrific fun, and Brendan and all the other guys doing the technical side as well. Been terrific fun. Really privileged to be part of it.
Now, one comment I want to just chuck at you there, Sash, which came from, of course, Fat Man Racing's Stuart Mack. He just dropped in a comment there saying it was awesome to see the first live motorsport coverage in South Africa that he's seen in ages. And incredibly, it came from a computer game.
Yeah. we listen, at this stage, we'll take what we can get. So I'm happy with what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, we had the MLB Festival earlier in the year. We had the 9-hour last year, but of course, at this level, it's great to have it. And once again, a massive thanks to Sasha Martinengo for joining us and being part of this team. Sash, your insight and of course the experience that you've given is top class. On behalf of the team behind the scenes, Richard Raymond, Jason Holden-Jones, and the Supercar Lifestyle team, we do appreciate all the support that they've gone and done. To all the drivers, 137 of them that participated from the word go and have now been whittled down to the top 25. Well done. Hats off to all of you. Well done. An awesome job. We look forward to the action coming to you guys tomorrow night at about 6:30. Come and join us for all the action from the grand finale of the Solidarity E-Race. On behalf of the team, I'm Greg Maloney, the voice of choice. We'll see you soon. Take care then. Bye-bye now.